Don't know what it is that made us so indifferent. We're drifting in the dark. Can we do better? Wish I could rewind back to the start. Can we do better than this? Better. You got me high, then drop me low. You got there's something I can seem to let go. You got me high, then drop me low. You got there's something I can seem to let go.
Hello and welcome everyone back to another round of the Virtual Drift Championship. This is round number 2, season 10 here at Ruapuna Park. My name is Craig. With me as always is Tanner. What's up, Tanner?
What's going on, Craig? And welcome everyone to the main event here. Again, the 2-day format. So now it's the top 32. If you missed out on qualifying, well, after this, go back, watch it. What a crazy qualifying. Some new guys coming out swinging, some of the old guys showing they still got it, and the battles were absolutely crazy, giving us a sneak peek of what we're going to see today in the main competition.
Absolutely. Qualifying went absolutely bonkers. We'll pull up those top qualifying scores from yesterday where we see Yoshida getting 97.8 with Pleski also getting a 97.8 but had a lower score. And then Alan Hines in third place with that 97.7, and Zach O'Sullivan tying the 97.7 and the lower score. I believe it was a 96.7, but both of them tied, but Alan did it first, so Alan takes that third position. If you missed yesterday as well, we'll pull up today's line map that has been amended just a little bit here. We'll start at the top of the screen where you get a nice decent run up into a big initiation. So we do have a small, well, I guess a large off throttle zone, but a lot of the drivers yesterday seemed to just throw it in on full throttle and stay there and fill that whole entire first outside zone. We'll see if that continues today, but there is an area for those drivers to be using the off throttle zone on initiation. Moving forward down the course to clip number 2, you have your first decel zone into a very small off throttle where you pick up throttle while you're on the second wall rise. So we're going wall to wall and then down to clip 3 for your next outside zone and around your next inside clip where we've got a box on the ground and judges want the lead driver putting their lead front tire in the middle of that box. We move down to the next outside zone for clip number 5 and then across the track for clip number 6, 7, and then down into clip 8 where we have a little bit of change for this line map here. We've got it starting, the diesel zone starting about halfway through that road on the driver's left, where we're going to extend it a little bit further to the beginning. It's something the drivers voted on this morning in the drivers meeting, so that decel zone is a little bit larger. Again, we want to see drivers smoothly decelling there into clip 8 when they pick up throttle, but of course judges don't want to see bobbles from the angle and things like that. Everything should be nice and smooth into that last and final outside zone where they'll follow that track edge all the way around and finish the course. Well, let's pull up today's top 32 bracket where Masashi, Yoshida, and Ethan Pikachu will start things out for us and should be an interesting battle. It looks like they are at the line and ready to go already. I don't want to keep them waiting. We'll get right to it.
Sitting there going, let's get this show on the road. Masashi Yoshida leading things out in qualifying. What a wonderful qualifying indeed. He will take your lead spot to start things off today in the top 32. Chasing him down, getting through the last 16 battles is Ethan Pikachu in the chase. Let's see what happens here at the beginning. Initiating in, looking great for Masashi Yoshida. A little bit of mid through that first outer zone. Ethan sticking right there with him though. Good proximity from Ethan in that chase. Coming into outer zone 2, starting to get right out to that yellow line now is Masashi in that lead, and a good job through that front clip. Now through outer zone 4 into 5. Ethan doing a great job in this chase, just putting that car exactly where it needs to be and holding that line, not getting too close, but not too far away as we see there when they cross that line.
Great way to start the top 32 main event here for round number 2. We'll go back to the replay here with Masashi out front, Ethan giving chase. Purple on purple here through outside zone number 1. Filling this nicely out front is Masashi. Qualifying first yesterday and looking strong. Ethan fighting his way through the last 16 qualifying battles and doing good here in the first half of the main event. As we see Masashi filling these outside zones very clean, but he does bobble it just a little bit, picking up throttle as we just talked about here. There, right there. But still remains clean. Ethan right there in the pocket. There they go across that finish line. We'll go back to the start gate.
Back at the start gate, they are flipped around and ready for the second half of their battle to see who moves on to the top 16. Ethan Pikachu will now lead things out. Masashi Yoshida, our number 1 qualifier, ready to chase him down. Now initiating in, tons of speed for Ethan out front, but Masashi quickly grabs that door through outer zone 1, almost pushing him through it as we see them leave outer zone 1, transitioning to outer zone 2. Masashi makes a dive to get back on the door of Ethan. The speed of that FD proving to be a bit of a challenge here, but now Masashi's starting to reel him in. Ethan doing a great job out front as they come through outer zone 6 into that final transition, the final outer zone. Yoshida's looking to get it on the door. He manages to get there, but he was bobbling that whole time in that chase.
Yeah, he sure was. Just couldn't seem to keep the car together. We'll take another look at it here on the replay. Ethan out front in that RX-7. Tashi, number 1 qualifier in the chase. Leaving a lot of room until right there, but still, as you pointed out, bobbling in that chase position, not quite as smooth. There again, coming into outside zone number 2, Ethan still out front, doing a good job there. Maybe a little wide for that inside portion of the course. Continuing on, down into 7 now. Last and final outside zone and transition, leaving it just a little bit, is Ethan in that lead position. There they go across that finish line, and we go to our judges for the first time. You're in the top 32. Masashi on the left, Ethan on the right. Sounds like we have a decision. There it is. They are starting to slide right. So Chris and Carl go right. Ed wanted to see it one more time, but Ethan Pikachu is gonna take out our number 1 qualifier.
And just as I suspected from the last 16 battles yesterday, this is gonna be a round where you gotta give it everything you got and you can't shake at all. So Ethan Pikachu taking out our number 1 qualifier, Masashi Yoshida, moving on to the top 16. Who will see Ethan? Well, that'll be the deciding of this battle here. Brett Wolfford in the Team Hines, the RTR Mustang, is in the lead position, qualified 16th. Lucas Pasqueeni in that E90 BMW, he's in the chase, qualifying 17th yesterday. Now they're doing battle today. Initiating in, looking great for Brett Wolfford, but Lucas already on the door and almost making contact there through outer zone 1, transitioning along the bumper, giving the bumper just a little tap there of Brett Wolfford through outer zone 2. Now the transition through outer zone 3. Lucas giving him no breathing room. Brett doing a good job here so far in that lead as they come through outer zone 5 and 6 now. Maybe a tire drop there from Brett Wolfford out into outer zone 6. Couldn't get it all the way into the final outer zone, but Lucas stayed right with him the entire time.
Yeah, let's take a second look on the replay here. First half of the battle between Brett Wolfford and Lucas Pasqueeni, and I think you're right. I think we had some contact here in outside zone number 1. There, right along that front wheel. Brett Wolfford out front as they continue on. Bumper to bumper is Lucas in that chase position through that first transition. Second transition as well. Here we see Brett a little bit wide. They continue on now into 6 and down into 7. Brett using all the angle there to pace himself through, but drops quite a bit of speed there and comes up short of that last and final outside zone.
Well, we'll see what happens in the second half of this battle. Again, the winner going to see Ethan Pikachu in the top 16. Lucas Pasqueeni now in the lead. Brett Wolfford ready to chase him down. The lights go on. Second half is underway. Lighting up the tires all the way down the straight. Lucas Pasqueeni initiates in, but Brett Wolfford right there with him. A little bobble from the chase and a tap to the rear quarter pattern of Lucas Pasqueeni through outer zone 1. They make the transition into outer zone 2. Brett Wolfford on the attack here, trying to keep as close as possible, showing the aggression. Lucas doing a great job out front, putting that car almost exactly where it needs to go as they come through outer zone 4, 5, and 6. Now the final transition, the final outer zone. Brett makes that dive, gets on the door, and that chase gives them a little tap in the door just at the finish line.
Yeah, applying some pressure across that finish line. Let's take another look. Lucas out front this time, with Brett giving chase. Second half of this top 32 battle. Lucas really smooth in outside zone number 1. Doesn't seem to have any contact there from that chase position of Brett Wolfford as they move into outside zone number 2. Brett giving up a little bit more space than Lucas through the first transition, but not the second one. But we see Brett a little bit on the inside of that turn number 3 as they work their way through the Manji section, down across flip 7 and now into 8, where Lucas very, very smooth out front all the way out to that track edge, and then a bump there from Brett Wolfford across that finish line. Will go to our judges. Brett on the left, Lucas on the right. Winner moves on into the top 16. And there it is. So we have a one more time from Chris and Carl. Ed goes right for Lucas. But we'll line him back up.
Now, really starting to reminisce the last 16 battles from yesterday. The one more times happened 3 out of the 4 final battles. So could we see a repeat here in the top 32 where we start to see a lot? I enjoy this with the judges, making it so that, you know, they want to make sure they're making the right call. And if they are weary, let's send them again. Let's make it a clear cut who deserves to move on into the top 16. So Brett the Wolfford slots back into that lead lane in that Team Hines, the RTR Mustang. Lucas Pasqueeni ready to chase him down once again. Who moves on to the top 16? Well, we'll find out after the one more time battle. The lights go on and off they go. It is now underway for the one more time battle. Initiating in, Brett Wolfford looking good off the initiation. Lucas Pasqueeni right there with him through outer zone 1, keeping it glued to the door, giving him a bit of room for the transition. A little tire drop there from Brett Wolfford in that lead, leaving outer zone 1, but he makes up for it. Looks great through outer zone 2. Lucas Pasqueeni transitioning along the bumper through outer zone 3, through that inside clip, now through 4 and 5, leaving quite a bit of room here as he makes that dive. I cannot believe he didn't hit the rear bumper of Brett Wolfford. Brett Wolfford keeping it in that outer zone this time. And wow, this is going to be a dogfight.
Yeah, very interesting. And we might have had some contact. Let's take another look here on the replay. Brett throwing the Mustang into turn number 1, nice and clean all the way through, but Lukash finds himself in that pocket once more, right along the bumper through transition number 1 into outside zone number 2. Same there for the next transition. Brett where he needs to be this time for that inside box, and then there I'm not sure. So Brett does end up lacking a bit of angle through that transition, and there once more very, very close from catching that rear bumper. We see Brett drop a tiny bit of tire there before crossing that finish line as well.
They both want to advance on, but only one can advance on, and we'll see if we have a clear decider at the end of this battle. The second half ready to go. Lucas Pasqueeni now in the lead. Brett the Wolfford ready to chase him down. The lights go on and off they go for the second half. Initiating in, Lucas Pasqueeni out front. Good initiation right with them was Brett Wolfford, but a huge bobble from that chase through outer zone 1. Now they leave outer zone 1, transitioning down towards outer zone 2. Lucas Pasqueeni keeping it right on that yellow line. Brett Wolfford has made up for that earlier error and now starting to really put on the pressure as he gets right up to the doors. They leave outer zone 4, right along the bumper for the transition out of outer zone 5 through 6. Now one more transition to go into outer zone 7. Lucas Pasqueeni put it on the line, but Wolfford put it on the door for the end.
Oh my goodness gracious. Let's take another look here. Lukash out front. Second half of the one more time battle. Brett applying a lot more pressure here in that chase position. Does have a small bobble there through outside zone number 1, lacking a little bit of angle there as well, maybe some understeer. Makes a big dive here in outside zone number 2, and then right along that bumper, better positioning there around that inside clip from Brett. Lukash doing a very, very good job out front. Look at the angle there through 7 and now into 8, where he keeps it smooth, where he, when he picks up throttle, stays on that track edge, but Brett pushing him across that finish line. We go to our judges once more between these two. Brett Wolfford on the left, Lukash Pasqueeni on the right. There it is. We do have a decision. One more time from Chris, but Ed and Carl both slide him right for Lucas Pasqueeni, and we'll see him in the top 16.
In the one more time decider, Lucas Pasqueeni gets the win. He goes to see Ethan Pikachu in the top 16. Sadly, the end of the day for Brett the Wolfford. Now, our next battle here of round 2 in the top 32, Samuel Cuddy, qualifying 8th yesterday, will slot into that lead position. Beside him, Jordy Jojo Lopez in that BMW as well. The Z4, I believe that one is, in the chase. The lights go on and off they go for this battle. Quickly underway. Samuel Cuddy initiates in, looking good off the initiation, getting it right to that yellow line of outer zone 1. Jordy in that chase, trying to keep up with him through outer zone 1, just keeping a good proximity now, trying to get right on that door through outer zone 2. Leaving a bit of room there was Samuel Cuddy. They come through that inside clip towards outer zone 4. Now the transition to 5. And a good job from the chase here as the chase drops just a bit of tire as he makes that transition into outer zone 6. They come into that final outer zone. They're wheel to wheel as they cross that line.
Yeah, very interesting there. Watching it live, I was wondering if he was going to have enough speed to make outside zone number 8. Well, technically number 7, clip 8. We take another look at it here. Small bobbles there from Samuel Cuddy out front. Not quite as committed on the throttle as maybe the judges would like to see through 1. Jordy right there in that chase along the bumper through that second transition around that inside clip. Now filling that next outside zone up through 6, now down into 7, where we see a ton of angle and a small correction, and then coming up way short of that last and final outside zone. There they go across that finish line.
Well, back around for the second half of the battle, Jordy Jojo Lopez slots into that lead lane up against Samuel Cuddy, who's now going to chase him down. 1 advances on, 1 goes home. The lights go on and off they go. And a way faster start out of the gate this time around. Initiating in, Jordy looking good right to angle. Samuel gets right up on the door though as they come through outer zone 1. Maybe a little touch there, which threw Samuel Cuddy off just a little bit as they come into outer zone 2. Jordy gets it all the way out to that yellow line by the end of the zone. Now they transition down through that inside clip. Samuel Cuddy keeping on the pressure and not letting Jordy run away with this as they come through that final transition. The final outer zone in contact. Looks like Jordy slowed down too much, maybe got off track, but not enough to upset the run, and they finish it out.
Yeah, it was somewhat similar to what Samuel did out front, but a little bit different. Let's take another look here. Jordy out front, throwing that car into turn number 1 and sticks it very smooth through that. And then, yeah, almost some contact there, throwing Samuel off. He gets back into the fight for outside zone number 2. Now down across 3 and across the inside clip. Jordy doing a good job out front, but down into 7, we see Jordy hang on to that angle for a very long time and then come up short of outside zone number 7, that last and final one. There they go across that finish line. We had some contact as well, so judges might go over it a couple of times, but yeah, I think it was pretty clear Jordy coming up short, but we also saw Samuel come up short as well. Will we line them up again? Do we have a victor here? Samuel on the left, Jordy on the right. And yes, I think that's the question. If Jordy was a professional iRacing NASCAR driver, and that is correct. In the Coca-Cola series, I believe.
No, you are right on that. It was the Coca-Cola series, yeah.
All right, so we have a split decision. Chris goes right for Jordy Lopez. Ed and Carl both go left for Samuel Cuddy. Samuel Cuddy gets the win, moves on into the top 16.
Jordy Jojo Lopez, first time in competition, and now his first exit out of the top 32, but lots of rounds still to go. Samuel Cuddy takes that win, moves on into the top 16 as we have our next battle at the line. Qualifying 9th yesterday and really going for it in their qualifying runs. Maxime Tingai in the lead lane there. Beside him, Yaroslav Vasileo qualifying 24th in that BMW. The lights go on, and this battle's quickly underway. Maxime out front, initiates in. Yaroslav right there with him as they come into outer zone 1. Good job for Maxime, but look at Yaroslav keeping on the door through outer zone 1. They make the transition down towards outer zone 2. Yaroslav trying to put that bigger BMW on the door. Gets it right there as they come through the inside clip. Now through outer zone 4. Little bit left on the table for Maxime in that lead, but keeps it going. Now they come into that final outer zone. Lots of angle thrown from Maxime, but he keeps it together. Yaroslav sticks right there to the door as they cross that line.
Yeah, let's take a second look at it here on the replay with Maxime out front. Yaroslav giving chase here. And a little out of line is that chase position, that bigger BMW, but then finds himself in the pocket for outside zone number 1, leaving it that first transition bumper to bumper. And then look at the bigger car behind that lead E36 moving through the inside portion of the course now. Yaroslav using the available track. Now down into 7, into 8, last and final outside zone, where we have a little bit of a wobble there from Maxime out front. So we're seeing a lot of people coming up maybe just a little bit shy of the last and final outside zone.
Something they'll work on as the day goes on. They'll start to get a little more comfortable with it. It's a tricky zone, that final one. Yaroslav Vasileo now in the lead lane. Maxime Tingai ready to chase him down for the second half of this battle to see who will go see Samuel Cuddy in the top 16. The lights go on and off they go. Yaroslav gets on throttle, initiates in, looking good off the initiation through outer zone 1. Maxime leaves him with a little bit of room, but quickly gets up on the door before the end of outer zone 1. Now transitioning down towards outer zone 2. A little bobble from our chase there as they come and leave outer zone 2. Transition down to outer zone 3. Maxime trying to stay on him. Yaroslav out front, putting the car where it needs to go. They come through outer zone 5 now, down toward, or 6, sorry, down towards the final outer zone, kicking up a little bit of dirt. But Maxime just sticking right there with them, just keeping applying that pressure.
Yeah, he sure was. We'll take another look here. Yaroslav out front this time, second half of their top 32 battle. Maxime giving chase, throwing that E36 in, but coming up a little bit shy of the pocket. Working his way down there now, leaving outside zone number 1, right along that bumper through that first transition, but ends up on the inside as Maxime in that chase position. Yaroslav nailing the lead line there around that inside clip number 1, and then up to that next outside zone. Smooth angle and good pace through this portion of the course, where we see him nice and smooth into the last and final outside zone. And across that finish line will go to our judges. Maxime on the left, Yaroslav on the right. Winner moves on into the top 16. And there it is, Yaroslav getting the win, moving on to the top 16. Tough battle against Maxime Tingai. Well, that is going to do it for our first group of the top 32 main event, where we saw Ethan Pikachu get the win over our number 1 qualifier, Masashi Yoshida. And Lucas Pasqueeni taking down Brett Wolfford, one of the Team Hines members in the RTR. Daniel Cuddy also getting the win over rookie Jordi Lopez. And Yaroslav just taking the win over Maxime Tingai. But up next, Sullivan and Austin Mitchell, David Lazco and Oliver Epinger, Mustafa Amina and Darius Ostraa, Brandon Gardner and Olivier Blas. All up next.
So up to the line they come. Our next set of battles here in the top 32 to finish off the left side of the bracket. Zach O'Sullivan, previous VDC champion, up against the newcomer Austin Mitchell in that S14, Zach in E36. The lights go on and this top 32 battle's underway. Zach out front, Austin chasing him down, initiating in. Zach O'Sullivan looking good off the initiation into outer zone 1. A big bobble there from the chase of Austin Mitchell, but he quickly figures himself out and tries to get back on the door. They transition down towards outer zone 2 now, right along that yellow line for the lead of Zach O'Sullivan. Austin Mitchell, though, sticking right with them as they come through the inside clip down to outer zone 4, now through 5 and 6. Doing a good job through these transition sections, and a drop tire from the lead of Zach O'Sullivan as they come into the final outer zone. Then some contact from Austin Mitchell in that chase, pushing him a bit wide as they finish out the run.
Yeah, we'll take another look at it here. Zach out front. Rookie Austin Mitchell just now joining us. His first round and first battle with Zach O'Sullivan here for the top 32 main event. Zach throwing it into outside zone number 2, but Austin staying right there with him. Working their way around that inside clip, and here where we see the first tiny little tire drop from Zach, stays on course there, and then another one right there. Here we head into the last and final outside zone where we get a little push from Austin Mitchell in that chase position, lacking a little bit of angle there behind Zach.
Now we move to the second half of this battle. Austin Mitchell now out front. Zach O'Sullivan ready to chase him down. The lights go on and the second half is underway. Lighting up the tires all the way out of the smoke gate is start gate is Austin Mitchell as they come into outer zone 1. Zach quickly having to get on the door in outer zone 1. Leaves him a bit of room there for the transition down towards outer zone 2. Austin Mitchell putting it right on that yellow line through outer zone 2. Now the transition through 3. Zach O'Sullivan keeping it on the door as they leave that zone now for this quick little Manji section, dropping a tire. Austin Mitchell out front through outer zone 5. They come through 6 and now into the final outer zone. But oh no, not enough speed for Austin Mitchell. He locks up, drives off course, and Zach O'Sullivan finishes it out.
Yeah, falling apart there in the last portion of the course. We'll take another look at it here. Austin Mitchell out front. Zach giving chase him right onto the door early, but then has to back off, drops down on his line, but then gets back into the pocket, sacrificing some room there on that first transition, and then back into it for outside zone number 2, and then down across that inside clip. Austin Mitchell doing a good job for that outside zone, and there we see just a ton of angle there for that zone, dropping a tire, and that's where I believe he lost sort of all of his momentum there through that portion of the course. That continues on after we see Austin Mitchell go off track, and we'll go to our judges. Zach on the left, Austin Mitchell on the right. And there it is, Zach O'Sullivan getting the win and moving on into the top 16.
So Zach O'Sullivan getting the win over Austin Mitchell, moving on in the top 16, and the next battle's already at the start gate. David Lazco in the lead lane, chasing him down, Oliver Epinger, who will go to see Zach in the top 32. We'll find out after this battle. Initiating in, David out front, looking good off the initiation. Oliver Epinger right there with him as they come through outer zone 1, leaving just a little bit of room, just enough for that transition down towards outer zone 2. David keeping it right on that yellow line. Oliver doing a great job here in mimicking that lead car as they come through outer zone 4, now into 5. His transition section, keeping it on the track, kicking up a bit of dirt there from David as they come into that final outer zone. He gets it back onto the yellow line, and there's Oliver Epinger on the door as they finish out the run.
Yeah, nicely done to start that battle out. Nice and scrappy. We'll take another look. David out front, Oliver Epinger giving chase. And initiating in and nice and smooth from both of them. Look at there. Wings almost hanging over the wall. Definitely there, leaving outside zone number 1. David out front, nice and smooth. Into outside zone number 2, lots of speed. And leaving Oliver behind just a little bit. But here goes wide and then has to sacrifice some angle there to come up into the next outside zone. But Oliver doing a good job to deal with it right on the bumper through those transitions there. And then that last and final outside zone, we see Oliver bobble just a little bit, and we go back to the start gate.
At the start gate and ready for the second half of their battle, Oliver Epinger now in that lead lane. David Lazco ready to chase him down. They wait for the lights to go on for the second half of this battle, and there we go, underway. Lighting up the tires all the way down the straight, initiating in. Good job from Oliver Epinger. Right with him, though, David Lazco. Leaving a bit of room on the table, but nothing crazy. Keeping a good proximity as they come into outer zone 2. Right into that wall, looking great as they transition through outer zone 4. David on the door. Now into outer zone 5 through this transition section. Oliver doing a great job out front here. David just trying to stick with them as they come in that final outer zone. Not quite on the door, but he manages to get there just before the finish line.
Yeah, Oliver really throwing that car into that last and final outside zone. Makes it work, stays pretty smooth doing it as well. We'll take a second look here on the replay. Oliver throwing that car in. Look at David right there in that chase position. Very similar to the first half of the battle through outside zone number 1, but a little bit closer there into outside zone number 2, where Oliver bounces off that wall just a little bit. And then nicely done for that inside clip by Oliver, and up into this next outside zone where we see a ton of angle here through 7 and now into 8. We're really tossing that car in, picking up throttle early and staying on that track edge, getting away from David a little bit there. And we'll go to our judges. David on the left, Oliver on the right. Winner goes to the top 16. And it looks like we have a decision. They all 3 judges slide right. Chris, Ed, and Carl. Oliver Epinger getting the win over David Lazco.
Well, good job there from Oliver Epinger to get that win over David Lazco. He will see Zach Sullivan a little later on today in the top 16 as our next battle under the tower. Mustafa Amine in that IS 300 up against Darius Ostraa in the new Toyota Supra, the JZA 90. They wait for the lights to come on, and there we go. This battle's underway. Mustafa Amine out front. Darius ready to chase him down. Initiates in, looking good off the initiation. Darius already on the door, though, off the initiation through outer zone 1. They leave outer zone 1 now. Transitioning to outer zone 2, getting it right on the yellow line. Good driving here from Mustafa Amine out front, but Darius is just all over him as they come through that inside clip through outer zone 4, making the transition now into outer zone 5 and 6, right along the bumper. Darius is leaving no room for error as they come into the final outer zone. Not as wide as Mustafa would probably like to be, but not upsetting Darius as he keeps it to the door all the way across the line.
Yeah, we'll pull up that replay. Mustafa out front in the first half of their top 32 battle here. Darius throwing it in and right into the pocket immediately after that initiation. Mustafa nice and clean into outside zone number 2, almost getting a little pump there along the bumper from Darius. So close through both of those transitions. Perfect on that inside clip from Mustafa, but Darius can't be shaking. A little bobble there, but hangs on to it. Another little bobble there across 7 and now into 8, where Mustafa leaves the edge just a little bit there. Could have been a little bit deeper, but there they go across that finish line.
Well, back around at the start gate, Darius Ostraa now will lead things out in the second half of this battle. Mustafa Amina will get his chance to chase him down. The lights go on and the second half is underway. A good getaway out of the start gate, but we are getting a restart. A restart has been called. This is the first time in a while we've had a restart called. So, we'll line them back up. And we'll try this again. Darius Ostraa reslots into that lead lane. Mustafa Amina ready to chase him down. The lights come on. And now they go. Good getaway for Darius Ostraa. Mustafa Amina with him as they initiate in. Darius to a good lead, but then quickly on the door comes Mustafa Amina through outer zone 1. They transition along the bumper down into outer zone 2. And look at that, Mustafa Amina on the door through outer zone 2, leaving almost no room for that transition to that inside clip. Now through outer zone 4, they come through outer zone 5. Look at how close Amina is to Darius Ostraa, maybe even giving the bumper a little touch there as they made that transition to the final outer zone. But Amina all over Darius in that chase run.
He sure was. After Darius launched his car off the line, we see him there just getting away from Mustafa quickly, but then Mustafa reels him in. Look at that, just so quickly there for outside zone number 1, and then right along the bumper through first transition, matching the line and angle nicely for outside zone number 2. Darius still doing a fantastic job out front as well, but again, Mustafa right there with him through these transitions, down into the next outside zone, almost some contact there, very close, I'm not sure. Darius does come up rather shy, definitely dropping a ton of speed into that last and final outside zone. Now there is the decel zone there, but you'll just want them to keep that as smooth as they possibly can and use as much speed as they can coming into outside zone number 8. And Mustafa on the left, Darius on the right. Do we have a decision, or will they line them up for one more time? I'm not sure what that stunt was. And there they go. So they're going left for Mustafa. Amina getting the win over Darius Ostraa. We'll deem later on in the top 16.
A good job from Mustafa there. That was a wild chase run in the top 32. So he will move on to the top 16 as we come to our last battle at the left-hand side of the bracket for the top 32 before we move things over to the right-hand side and do it all over again to fill out the rest of the top 16. In your lead lane, Brandon BG Gardner. Well, he's ready for battle. As beside him, Olivier Blas. The battle of the E36s. The lights go on and off they go. Brandon initiating in, Olivier right there with him as they come through outer zone 1. Olivier getting right on the door of Brandon Gardner as they leave outer zone 1 door to door. Now down towards outer zone 2, a big surge from the chase of Olivier as they come into outer zone 2. Now through 3 in that inside clip. Olivier sticking right to the door of Brandon Gardner. Now they come through outer zone 5, make that transition to 6. Losing big ground was Olivier Blas through that section, and oh no, the car grips up and smashes into the side of Brandon Gardner, setting him off track.
Yeah, it certainly did. We'll take another look at it here on the replay. Brandon Gardner out front in the first half of their top 32 battle. Olivier reeling him in quickly. Staying with him through outside zone number 1. Nice and clean from Brandon out front. Good transition into outside zone number 2. Bumper right along that wall. almost not leaving enough room for that second transition is Olivier in that chase position, lacking a little bit of angle there in that chase position as well. A little out of whack for 7 and now into 8 where, yeah, it's like the car just kind of stalled on him and lurched forward. Unfortunate to see.
Unfortunate indeed, but there is still another half of the battle, and if this course has shown us anything, it's that the fight isn't over till it's over. Olivier Blas now in the lead, and Brandon Gardner ready to chase him down. The lights go on and off they go. Lighting up the tires all the way down the straight, initiating it. Brandon Gardner thought he was going to go into the back of him, but no, sticks right with him through outer zone 1. Now leaving a bit of distance there as Olivier drops some tire there and out of outer zone 1. They make the transition into outer zone 2. Brandon Gardner gets right back onto the door and now glued to the door of Olivier Blas, leaving enough room for that transition to outer zone 4. Now into 5 and 6. And they are right going after each other. Big angle into the final outer zone. Brandon Gardner right there with them as they cross that line wheel to wheel.
Yeah, let's check it out again. Olivier out front, Brandon giving chase here. Second half of their battle. Almost some contact along that bumper out. I'm not sure how Brandon made that work, but he did. Follows him through outside zone number 1. Maybe playing it a little safe, but nope. Right along the bumper through that first transition and across the second one as well. Reeling him back in, getting around that inside clip and into position for the next transition. Olivier out front doing a good job with it. Very deep in that second to last outside zone, picking up throttle. It works this time and he stays to that track edge across that finish line. We'll go to our judges. Brandon Gardner on the left, Olivier on the right. And there it is. Brandon Gardner getting the win over Olivier Blas. We'll see him in the top 16. So that is going to be another group done with a top 32. So what we just saw, Zacho Sullivan getting the win over Austin Mitchell. Oliver Epinger getting the win over rookie David Lazco. Mustafa Amine getting the win over Darius Ostraa, and Brandon Gardner getting the win over Olivier Blas. So next up, the right-hand side of the bracket, the top right corner, Pleski and Cameron Mustard, Daniel Andrev and Linus Tornquist, John Reeves and Russell Jones, Vitaly Asov and Martinez Ostraa coming up next.
Well, here we go with the right-hand side of the bracket for the top 32 of round 2 here, the Virtual Drift Championship Season 10. What a way to start things out in the 2026 season. Pleski now in the lead lane up against Cameron Mustard in the chase. Lights go on. First battle of the right-hand side is underway. Initiating in, T-Con out front. Cameron chasing him down right up to the door through outer zone 1. T-Con putting the bumper along the wall as they leave outer zone 1. They make the transition down in outer zone 2. Cameron Mustard almost touching the rear bumper of T-Con Pleski as they make the transition down to that inside clip. Cameron Mustard doing a good job to just stick right with the door of T-Con Pleski here as they come through the final transition into that final outer zone. T-Con puts it on the line. Cameron puts it on the door as they cross that finish line.
Yeah, great start to the right-hand side of the bracket. Pleski out front. Cameron Mustard giving chase here on the replay. throwing that car in full speed, picking up throttle early and sticking it along the wall there for outside zone number 1. But Cameron right there along the bumper through that first transition, staying with him through outside zone number 2. Great positioning, making a little dive here. A little wide of that inside box. Oh, big angle there for 6. Now 7. And once more along that bumper is Cameron Mustard and right into the pocket of Pleski out front. They finish out and we're back to the start gate for the second half.
But now, Cameron Mustard in the lead lane for the second half of this battle. Pleski ready to chase him down. His lights go on, off they go, initiating in. Cameron Mustard looking good off the initiation. Quickly on the door through outer zone 1, leaving a little bit of room there for the transition, leaving outer zone 1, now down into outer zone 2. Some smoke, some dirt kicked up into outer zone 2. Not sure who that was from. And they come through outer zone 3 and 4 now, making the transitions through 5. Transitioning right along the bumper of Cameron Mustard into that final outer zone. Sticks it to the door. He tries to just give it a little touch. Can't quite get there as they finish out the run.
Yeah, let's go back to the replay here. Cameron Mustard out front. Pleski giving chase. Cameron throwing the car in, picking up throttle early, staying along that track edge, along that wall. Staying with him through outside zone number 1. Not quite as close, but now he is in outside zone number 2, backing up a little bit, but right along the bumper, a little bit closer through this section of the course where Cameron is a little bit tighter to that inside clip. Nicely done on 6, now 7, big angle from Cameron Mustard, and then a little tentative there on that last and final transition, but makes it work. As well. There they go across that finish line. Do we have a winner? Pleski on the left, Cameron Mustard on the right. Winner goes on into the top 16. And there it is. We do have a winner. Pleski gets the win over Cameron Mustard, but wow, what a fight Cameron Mustard put on for Pleski, fighting his way through the last 16 qualifying battles yesterday and then having to go against Well done.
Big round for Pleski getting that win, moving into the top 16. But now we go to our next battle. Last round's winner, Andrev, up against Linus Tornquist. Initiating in, looking good for Andrev off that initiation. Linus trying to get up to angle, trying to catch up to Daniel, almost leaving him behind through outer zone 1 as they come into outer zone 2 now. Linus starting to close that gap, starting to get on the door. Andrev driving a good line here so far as they come through this transition section, this Manji section, through outer zone 5 and 6, now into that final outer zone. Daniel doing a great job out front, and Linus just keeping the proximity there.
Yeah, I think that was high up on the importance list for Linus, as definitely a lot more concerned about keeping that proximity with Daniel very fast out front into the first turn and keeping that speed up for turn number 1, now into 2, outside zone number 2. Linus reeling him in a little bit there, right along the bumper for that transition. And here we see Linus in that chase position, sacrifice quite a bit of angle here through this section of the course, but maybe what's needed for him to stay with Daniel out front. Daniel picking up that throttle, filling that last and final outside zone. And we're back to the start gate.
Back at the start gate and ready to go for the second half of this battle to see who will see Pleski in the top 16. Linus Tornquist now leads things out. Previous winner Daniel Andrev chases him down, initiating in, and Daniel Andrev quickly on the door. Maybe some contact there as they came through the first part of Outer Zone 1. Now leaving Outer Zone 1, transitioning along the bumper. Daniel Andrev giving no breathing room at all to Linus Tornquist. They come through that inside clip down towards Outer Zone 4, and this is getting intense as they're transitioning now into Outer Zone 6. Daniel Andrev right there on the door of Linus, maybe giving him a little touch again, and another touch as they cross the finish line.
Yeah, and a little tire drop from Linus out front in that last and final outside zone. Let's take another look here. Linus initiating in, and Daniel reels him in so quickly there for outside zone number 1. Maybe a little bit of contact there a couple of times through that first outside zone. Now into outside zone number 2, picking up throttle and burying the bumper is Linus out front. Nice and smooth, snappy transition right where he needs to be for the inside and that next outside zone. That one as well, again, very clean and smooth out front until we see him go a little bit backwards there, try and save it with the throttle, but a little bit too late, goes off, and then a little push across that finish line from Daniel Andrev. We'll go to our judges. Daniel on the left, Linus on the right. And there it is, Daniel Andrev getting the win, moving on into the top 16, where he'll have to face Pleski.
Well, Daniel Andrev moving on, maybe trying to make a repeat of round 1, but that battle of Pleski, that's going to be the real test. As we move on to our next battle under the tower, Dijon Reeves qualifying 7th in that Corvette, the only Corvette on the field, up against Russell Jones in the BRZ in the chase. Lights go on and off they go, initiating in, looking good off the initiation. Russell Jones right there with them as they come through Outer Zone 1, leaving a good proximity as they leave Outer Zone 1 and transition down to Outer Zone 2. Dijon Reeves keeps it right along that yellow line of Outer Zone 2. Now the transition into 3, maybe a little early transition into Outer Zone 3, but it doesn't mess them up too bad as now they start transitioning through Outer Zone 4 and 5. Russell Jones sticking right with them though as they come through that final Outer Zone and cross the finish line.
Yeah, nicely done from Deshaun out front. Rampage through the chicane. Here on the replay, Russell Jones giving chase. Doing a good job here in the beginning of outside zone number 1, but quickly starts to fall back here as we move further through the course. Big transition from Rampage out front, putting that bumper along that wall and getting a little bit separation from Russell Jones. Russell now back into the fight, a little bit along that bumper, now down into 7. Nice and smooth from Reeves out front, picking up throttle early, riding that track edge all the way around to that finish line.
Well, now back around and ready for the second half of their battle. Russell Jones will now lead things out. Dijon Reeves will chase him down. Lights go on and the second half is underway. Russell Jones lighting up those tires all the way down the straight, initiates in. Not as big of an aggressive initiation as I think Dijon was expecting as they come into Outer Zone 1, only about halfway through that Outer Zone, not all the way out to the yellow line. Now Russell Jones gets it on the yellow line through Outer Zone 2, and Dijon Reeves is all over Russell Jones. They come through the first half of this course. Now into the Manji section. Dijon Reeves starting to lose a bit of ground as Russell Jones stays on throttle, tries not to drop a tire, and I'm amazed he didn't as they came across that finish line.
Yeah, let's take another look at it here because I do believe Russell did drop out front. Russell leading John Reeves here, initiating in. I'm not sure if that's the initiation that Russell really wanted. It's like the car didn't quite rotate, so he had to use quite a bit of handbrake to get it to, but does make it work with Reeves following him in that chase position right along that bumper, almost not giving enough room. We do see Russell go a little bit wide of that inside clip, could be wide. We see Reeves, they're way offline for 7, now into 8, where we do see a little bit of tire drop before crossing that finish line from Russell Jones. We go to our judges. Reeves on the left, Jones on the right. Winner goes on into the top 16. We have a decision quickly. Sean Reeves gets the win over Russell Jones.
So Dashawn Reeves taking the next spot in the top 16. And our next battle under the tower, Vitaly Isaev qualifying 10th up against Martinez Ostraa qualifying 23rd. This battle will decide who goes to see Dashawn Reeves in the top 16. They patiently wait for those lights to illuminate. And here we go. The battle between Vitaly and Martinez is underway. Initiating in, big initiation from Martinez in that chase. Almost thought he was going to go right into the side of Vitaly, but he doesn't as they come through outer zone 1. Transitioning along the bumper into outer zone 2. Vitaly keeping it right along that yellow line. Martinez sticking right there with them as they come through outer zone 3 down into 4 now. The first half of the course done. One more half to go. Martinez keeping a good proximity and keeping right there in touch with Vitaly Isaev as they come into that final outer zone. Loses some ground a bit as they cross that finish line.
Yeah, let's take another look here. Vitaly out front on the replay. First half of their top 32 battle. Martinez risking it all there on that initiation, but makes it work here through outside zone number 1. Stays with Vitaly. Nicely done into the pocket. Sacrifice a little bit of angle there before that first transition. Here we see a big lurch forward there before making that second transition from Martinez Ostraa, but gets right back into it. Right along that bumper into 7 and now into 8. Vitaly picking up throttle quickly, filling that last and final outside zone and getting a little bit of separation between him and that chase.
Well, now back under the start gate and ready for the second half of their battle to see who will advance on to the top 16. Will it be Martinez Ostraa or will it be Vitaly Isaev? The lights go on and the second half is underway. Down the straight, lighting the tires up, initiating in. Martinez Ostraa looking good off that initiation, trying to get it all the way out to that yellow line. But look at that from Vitaly in the chase, right along the door through outer zone 1. Good job through Martinez through outer zone 2. Vitaly sticking right there with him, not giving him an inch to breathe as they leave that inside clip towards outer zone 4. Now the transition to outer zone 5 and 6. Vitaly very close here as they come into that final outer zone. Vitaly had to park it as they came into that final outer zone to not go into the side of Martinez, but makes it work and gets across the line.
I am very shocked Vitaly was able to hang on to that and not just send Martinez to the snack stand off there on that last turn. Let's take another look here through outside zone number 1, right along the bumper. Through that first transition, Vitaly once more almost not giving enough room, but a great job from Martinez out front so far in this lead position. Filling 7 now, great angle, and here comes that last and final transition where he really comes up short and then has to stand on the left foot brake to hold it in that zone. Vitaly doing a good job to stay there in that chase position, but we'll go to our judges. Vitaly on the left, Martinez on the right. And there it is, Vitaly Isaev getting the win. We'll see him in the top 16 against Dashawn Reeves. That's going to do it for that group of top 32. The top right-hand side of the bracket is complete. For our top 16 later on today, Pleski getting the win over Cameron Mustard. Daniel Andrev also getting the win over Linus Tornquist. Dashawn Reeves getting the win over Russell Jones, and Vitaly Isaev getting the win over Martinez Ostraa. Up next, Alan Hines and Luciano Canero, Brandon Patrick and Braden Swan, Nico Stilea and Daniels Per-Gowalskis, and Simon Sandman versus Nick Hayne to round out our top 32 before we move on into our top 16.
Well, with last call, we are now ready to go for the bottom half of the right-hand side of the bracket. And that starts things out with Alan Hines. Team Hines, the RTR Mustang, the man himself, Alan Hines, qualifying third after getting his score first over Zacho Sullivan, which meant Zacho Sullivan took fourth, up against Luciano Canero, qualifying 30th. Here we go. The lights go on and the battle's underway. Initiating in, looking good for Alan Hines as they come right into the wall of outer zone 1, and he sticks it there. Luciano Canero does a great job following him through as a big dive into outer zone 2, and Luciano Canero smacks the side of Alan Hines, putting them both into the wall, and they're going to finish out this run. But I think that dive from Luciano is, who was at fault on that?
And they're gonna finish out the run. It's a good thing we're in the virtual space, as that could have been really bad. Let's take another look at it here on the replay. Alan Hines out front, Luciano giving chase. Alan initiating in nice and clean along the wall, burying the bumper into it as well, working their way through outside zone number 1, and then a big transition and a big dive there from Luciano in that chase position, pushing Alan into the wall. There is a small decel zone there. Now the contact does happen maybe a little bit after where that spot is. From our point of view, I think Alan was on throttle moving through that zone, but that's something for the judges later. We'll go back to the start gate for the second half of their battle. They might reset their cars to clear up any damage they may have.
And you know, we always say, oh, thankfully it's in the virtual space, but sometimes those hits can damage your wheel too if it's the right hit and you weren't expecting it, and the wheel goes all over the place. I've seen it happen. I know I've been to rim or two, that's for sure, but minor to what could have been in the real space. Now, ready for the second half of their battle. Here we go. Alan Hines now chasing down Luciano Canero. Luciano in that Nissan Z. Alan Hines, that RTR Mustang, initiating in for Luciano, looking great off the initiation. Alan Hines kind of bobbling there before settling into outer zone 1, as now he sticks with a good proximity down towards outer zone 2. Right along the yellow line though for Luciano Canero, doing a good job in the lead. Alan Hines just putting that Mustang exactly where it needs to be as they come through the Manji section now through outer zone 5 and 6. Keeping a good proximity from Alan Hines here, just doing the job he needs to do after that massive contact in the first half of the battle. They finish out the run, and we'll go to the replay.
Yeah, we'll take another look at it here. Luciano out front, leading Alan Hines this time. And Alan getting onto the door quickly. Luciano, nicely done for outside zone number 1, staying along that wall. Alan right there, giving a little bit of room for that first transition, and outside zone number 2. Right there along the bumper for that next transition around the inside clip. There's both those drivers filling that outside zone nicely. Again, very smooth from Luciano out front here, borrowing that public Nissan Z across that finish line. And we'll go to our judges. Alan Hines on the left, Luciano on the right. And a quick decision from those judges. Alan Hines gets the win over Luciano after we had that massive contact in outside zone number 2 in the first half of their battle.
Well, now we move on to the next battle to see who will face Alan Hines in the top 16. After he got that win over Luciano Canero, we got Brandon Patrick leading things out with Brandon Swan chasing him down. Brandon Swan in that chase. Brandon Patrick doing a good job through outer zone 1 here. Braden keeping it right there with him as they transition down into outer zone 2. Braden Swan keeping it right along the bumper as they transition through outer zone 3 down towards outer zone 4. Braden Swan giving him no breathing room. B-Pat trying his hardest out front here, putting on a great lead line as they come into that final outer zone. A lot of room left there from the chase, but he quickly gets back up into the pocket as they cross the finish line.
Yeah, nicely done by both. We'll take another look here. Brandon Patrick out front, Braden Swan giving chase in the top 32. Brandon throwing the car in. Braden right there in that chase position, right into the pocket for outside zone number 1. Nice and clean from both of them, leaving 1 and into 2 right along that wall. A snappy transition, but going wide for Brandon Patrick. Maybe a little bit late on the transition. Up into 6, now down into 7. Big angle, and now into 8. Final outside zone. Picking up that throttle early and leaving Braden behind just a little bit, but Braden doing a good job to reel him back in before that finish line.
Well, now let's see how the second half of this battle unfolds under the start gate. Braden Swan now in the lead lane and ready to chase him down. Brandon Patrick, as the lights go on and off they go, initiating in. Lots of speed there for Braden Swan as he goes into the wall of outer zone 1. And how B-Pat followed him through that is unreal as they come into outer zone 2 now. Through outer zone 2, now down into outer zone 3. Brandon Patrick still doing a great job in that chase, just keeping the car where he needs to keep it. Braden Swan out front with tons of speed here. He is just foot to the floor on this course. He puts it right on the yellow line for the final outer zone and finishes out the run.
Yeah, maybe a little upset with himself after that initiation, but it could have been so much worse. Let's take another look at it here. Braden going a little bit deep, dropping a tire right before the wall, but keeps it going somehow. Maybe getting the tap from Brandon Patrick in that chase position to keep him going. They continue on into outside zone number 2 like it never even happened. And then from here on, after this inside clip, Braden Swan is on a heater out front, filling these outside zones. Has a lot of pace through here. Last and final transition, nicely done. Maybe the best he's done into the last and final outside zone across that finish line. And we'll go to our judges. Brandon Patrick on the left, Braden Swan on the right. And there it is, quick decision. Brandon Patrick getting the win over Braden Swan. And he'll have Alan Hines in the top 16.
Well, a good job from Brandon Patrick, moving his way on to the top 16. We still have a couple more battles to go here in the top 32 for round 2, the Virtual Trip Championship at Ruapuna Park. And maybe a bye run here. Nico Stilea supposed to be up against Danelius Per-Gowalskis, but I don't see him in the server, and they've sent Nico, which means this is a bye run for Nico. Means he'll be moving on to the top 16. You see Nico getting a little bit of practice there. Throwing it down in the Team Hines RTR Mustang. Joining them this year. And he's looking dialed in that Mustang. Qualified 6th yesterday. And gets an easy go into the top 16.
Yeah, nicely done from Nico there. A little practice run for him. Going off. We'll have to see if we can get some word on where Danielis is and why he missed his battle. We hate to see it, but Nico will move on into the top 16 where he'll face the winner of our next battle here.
And not only our next battle, but our last battle of the top 32. This is it. Then we move on to the top 16 all the way to the finish. Simon Sandman qualifying 11th is in your lead lane. Up against Nick Hang in that Ford Cosworth, qualified 22nd. The lights go on and the final battle's underway. Initiating in, Simon Sandman right to angle, looking good. Nick Hang, though, right there on the door as they come through Outer Zone 1, almost wheel to wheel through Outer Zone 1. Now transitioning down towards Outer Zone 2. Nick Hang is on the attack. Simon Sandman doing a good job, though, in that lead as they come through towards Outer Zone 4. Could have been just a bit deeper into Outer Zone 4 for the lead. But look at Nick Hang all over Simon Sandman in that Manji section. Tons of angle thrown by Simon as they come into that final outer zone, but Nick Hang sticks right there on the door.
Yeah, stayed with him there. Let's take another look here on the replay. Sandman out front, brand new livery for him. Nick Hayne returning back in the Sierra and putting it onto the door of that 2 Series out in front, leaving the wall just a little bit. There is Simon. A transition across into outside zone number 2, putting his bumper along that wall all the way through. Nick Hayne right on the bumper for that next transition. Nicely done for that inside box. Down bumper to bumper, almost a little bit too deep there. Is Nick Hayne. Last and final transition, picking up that throttle early. Could have been a little bit deeper out front. They finish out the first half of their battle.
Now back under the start gate and ready to go for the second half of the battle. One moves on to see Nico Stilea in the top 16. Nick Hayne now in the lead. Simon ready to chase him down. The lights go on and off they go for the second half of the battle. Almost driving into the grass there was Nick Hayne off of the start gate, but right to angle through outer zone 1. Not all the way out there, keeping about a midline, but gets there by the end. Sandman keeping a good proximity through outer zone 1. Quickly getting up onto the door through outer zone 2 now. They transition through outer zone 3 down towards outer zone 4. Simon trying to keep that proximity, keeping it to the door of Nick Hayne as they come through outer zone 6. One transition to go along the bumper, throwing it in. A big bobble though from the chase as they tried to get it onto the door of Nick Hayne before the end of the run.
Yeah, let's go back to the replay. Second half of this final top 32 battle. Nick Hayne out front. Sandman giving chase. Nick Hayne rolling it in. Not quite as deep as we want to see for outside zone number 1. Simon staying right there with him. Bumper to bumper for that transition. Right along that outside wall as well. Nick near perfect on the inside clipping point. Down across 6. Big angle for 7, and Simon dealing with it nicely, but until that last and final outside zone, both of them make a couple of bobbles here and there, and then they go across that finish line. Do we have a winner here for our final top 32 battle? Simon on the left, Nick on the right. And no, we do not have a winner. Carl does slide left for Sandman, but Chris and Ed choose one more time, so we'll line them back up.
Well, now for a second one more time here in the Virtual Drift Championship for round number 2, the top 32. And on the final battle, nonetheless, Sandman will slot back into that lead lane. And Nick Hayne will get ready to chase him down one more time to see who will go see Nico Stilea in the top 16. They get ready for those lights to illuminate, and there we go. The one more time battle is now underway. Out of the start gate, down the straight, initiating in, looking good for Sandman off that initiation. Nick Hayne right there on the door as they come through outer zone 1. Had to back out of it just a little bit as they leave outer zone 1 and transition along the bumper into outer zone 2, deep into the wall for both drivers as they transition along the bumper again. Nick Hayne on the attack here. He wants this win. Simon driving a great drive out front, but Nick Hayne is all over that door as they come through the final outer zone. And it gets a little shaky through that final outer zone as they cross the line.
Yeah, we'll take a second look here on the replay. Sandman back out front in the one more time battle. Nick giving chase and trying to get up onto the door quickly. Right along that bumper through that initiation. Falling back just a little bit there in outside zone number 1, but then right back onto the bumper for that transition. Simon burying his bumper in outside zone number 2 and perfect on that inside clip. Could have been a little bit deeper there for 5. Nicely done for 6 and 7. Big angle through 7. Nick taking advantage and matching it as well. But there are a couple of little bobbles from Simon out front.
Well, now back around at the start gate. Will we have a winner in this one more time battle? The lights go on. Nick Hang now leads things out. Simon Sandman chasing him down for the second time here in the top 32. Initiating in. Simon Sandman trying to get right on the door off the initiation as they come through outer zone 1. Now down towards outer zone 2. Simon Sandman throwing tons of angle into outer zone 2, wanting to keep up with Nick Hang. Nick Hang's throwing it down into outer zone 4. Simon all over the door though as they make the transition now down towards outer zone 5 and 6. Simon doing a good job in that chase, but it all comes down to this final outer zone. Nick Hang puts it on the line, but Simon puts it on the door as they finish out this one more time battle.
Yeah, maybe last replay between these two. Nick Hang out front in the second half. This one more time battle. Simon throwing it onto the door quickly, but has some bobbles there. Sacrifices a lot of angle there to get back into the pocket of that lead car. Nick Hang, nicely done for outside zone number 2. Right along the bumper for the next transition. Perfect on that inside box is Nick Hang. Nicely done for 6 as well. Big angle for 7, and then super clean from Nick Hang out front, picking up that throttle for the last and final outside zone, but being pushed across that finish line by Simon Sandman. We'll go to the judges once more. Simon Sandman on the left, Nick Hang on the right. Winner moves on into the top 16, our last and final top 32 battle before we take a very short break before we head into our top 16. And there it is, Nick Hang getting the win over Simon Sandman. We'll see him in the top 16 against Nico Stilea, and we'll take a look at that top 32 bracket one more time before we take our break. We'll see Ethan, Pikachu, and Lukasz Pasqueeni, Samuel Cuddy, and Yaroslav Vasileo, Zacho Sullivan, and Oliver Epinger, Mustafa Amina, and Brandon Gardner, Tikhon Pleski, and Daniel Andrev, John Reeves, and Vitaly Asov, Alan Hines and Brandon Patrick, Nico Stilea, and Nick Hang in the top 16. Again, we'll take a very short break and we'll be back with the top 16 main event here for round 2 at Ruapuna Park. All right, welcome back everyone. We are now into the top 16 for round 2 here at Ruapuna Park. Let's take a look at our top 16 bracket. Again, up next, our top left-hand side, Ethan, Pikachu, and Lukasz Pasqueeni, Samuel Cuddy and Yaroslav Vasileo, Zacho Sullivan and Oliver Epinger, Mustafa Amine and Brandon Gardner. All up next, take your screenshots if you want to follow along with the bracket. We'll pull it up in between each group while they take their last little bit of practice runs here before we send them off. You know, next, Ethan, Pikachu, and Lukasz Pasqueeni here in the top 16. What do you think, Tanner?
I think we're in for a great finale to this round. I mean, every round is always crazy, but this one just, it has that air of it where any little mistake you make can just play through the whole course, and you're playing catch up with yourself, and that could end your run, as we've seen even with the battle coming up where Ethan Pikachu took out our very top qualifier of the day. So it's gonna get really good. Don't go anywhere. Let's see how this all unfolds. So, Lukasz Pasqueeni bots into that lead lane as he qualified 17th today. Ethan Pikachu getting his win over our top qualifier, Masashi Yoshida, slots into the chase lane as they get ready to kick off the top 16 here of round 2 of the Virtual Drift Championship. The lights go on and off they go. Down the straight, lighting those tires up the whole way down, initiating in for Lukasz. Right with him though is Ethan as they come through outer zone 1, right on that yellow line. Ethan losing a little bit of ground there as they come through outer zone 2. Ethan on the door through outer zone 2. Now they make the transition down towards outer zone 4 and making the Manji section happen as Ethan is transitioning right along the bumper of Lukasz Pasqueeni's E90 as they come into that final outer zone. Ethan gets up on the door, gives it a little tap right at the finish line.
Yeah, let's go back to the replay here between these two. Very first top 16 battle here for round number 2. Lukasz out front of Ethan. Ethan a little bit on the inside there after the initiation, but works back into the pocket, falls back, and then reels him back in. Bumper to bumper through that first transition. Nicely done from Lukasz out front for outside zone number 2, 3 as well. Around that inside clip and out to that next outside zone. Now down into 7. Good angle there, good pace as well, throwing it into the last and final outside zone. Super smooth, picking up that throttle as Lukasz out front. Ethan taking advantage and putting it back onto the door.
Well, now we'll see how the second half of this battle plays out. Ethan now in the lead, Lukasz ready to chase him down. Lighting those tires up all the way down. Ethan initiates in. Lukasz right there with him. Gets on the door into outer zone 1. Can he stay there the whole way around? Leaves a little bit of room as he adds a lot of angle there at the end of outer zone 1. They transition into outer zone 2. And oh no, into the side of Ethan goes Lukasz. Almost causing him to go off course. He bumps the wall. But Ethan, being the veteran that he is, keeps it going for this run. But now Lukasz is on the back foot from that contact. But could it matter? Will it matter? We'll find out from the judge's decision.
Yeah, beforehand, we'll take another look here on the replay. Ethan out front, Lukasz giving chase. Ethan throwing the RX-7 in. Nicely done from Lukasz in that chase position. Better positioning there for the beginning of outside zone number 1. Nicely done for the transition there. Have some contact there. Again, into the zone, there is a decel zone. Now, once you're in it, you need to be back on throttle and moving. It does seem to be that way from Ethan, unless he was on some heavy left foot brake. That is hard to see from there. Judges might take another look if we see a little extra tire drop. But really, the run is kind of over from there. We'll go to our judges, though. Ethan on the left, Lukasz on the right. Winner goes on into the top 8 here for round number 2. And there they go. They are sliding left for Ethan Pikachu again in that 32nd position, fighting his way through the last 16 qualifying battles yesterday, and now into the top 8.
Well, Ethan starting to make a tear as now he's moved on and beating out Lukasz Pasqueeni. But a good job from Lukasz there as we move on to our next battle. Samuel Cuddy and Yaroslav Vasileo. Samuel in that E46. Initiating in, Samuel Cuddy right to angle, but a big bobble as he tries to get into outer zone 1. Vasileo giving him a tap there now through outer zone 1, trying to get him to go a little quicker as he lost a lot of momentum. They come through outer zone 2, and now things are starting to settle out for Samuel Cuddy as they come into outer zone 4, now transitioning into 5. Vasileo doing a good job just to transition along that bumper and predict where Samuel Cuddy's going to put that E46. He gets it on the door as they cross the line.
Yeah, we go back to that replay and take another look. Samuel Cuddy out front, and I think over-rotating here on this initiation. Really gets to a lot of angle there and then has to pull out to get out to that outside zone. Was really coming up short. It's amazing Yaroslav didn't get into the door and have some contact there, really making a dive there in that chase position in the outside zone number 2 in that bigger BMW back there. Almost a little tire drop from Samuel Cuddy for 5, good on 6 and 7 as well. Now into 8, picking up that throttle, little small correction in the angle, crossing that finish line. We go back to the start gate.
And back at the start gate, we are. Yaroslav Vasileo now in the lead lane. Samuel Cuddy on the back foot here into the second half of this battle. Now chases him down. Initiating in. Good initiation for Yaroslav. Samuel Cuddy still with that big bobble there in the chase as he comes into outer zone 1. Almost the same as his lead run. Now into outer zone 2. Another huge mistake from the chase of Samuel Cuddy. What is going on with that E46 as they come through outer zone 5 and 6 now? Yaroslav doing a good job out front. Samuel Cuddy seems to be settled, but still dropping tire and now bumping Yaroslav all the way through the course.
Yeah, unfortunate to see there in the last and final outside zone. I do think we've got Samuel pushing Yaroslav off the course. We'll take a second look at it here though. Good smooth initiation out front from Yaroslav. A lot of bobbles there in that chase position for outside zone number 1 and leaving it before that transition. Then another one in outside zone number 2, trying to hang on to it around that inside clip. Now Yaroslav moving through the Manji section of the course down into 7. Samuel almost going off course there, and then yeah, we have a little bit of tap from Samuel first, then the tire drop from Yaroslav out front. We'll go to our judges. Samuel Cuddy on the left, Yaroslav Vasileo on the right. And Yaroslav gets the win over Samuel Cuddy. We'll see him in the top 8 against Ethan Vitrical.
The top half of the top 16 complete. Now for the bottom half. Zach O'Sullivan in the lead lane up against Oliver Epinger, ready to chase him down for this top 16 battle. The lights go on and off they go. Zach O'Sullivan screaming out of the start gate, but Oliver right there with him. They initiate in, looking good off the initiation, right to the yellow line. A big bobble there from Oliver Epinger in that chase, but he keeps it together through all of outer zone 1. Now they come into outer zone 2. Not as deep into the outer zone as Zach would probably like to be, but he's doing a good job at keeping it there. Oliver all over Zach's door as they come through the Manji section now into outer zone 6. One transition to go into that final outer zone, right on the yellow line for Zach, right on the door for Oliver. They finish out the first half of this battle.
Yeah, great start there. Oliver putting on some pressure to previous champion Zach O'Sullivan. Zach initiating in here on the replay. Oliver somehow staying on course and staying off the wall there in the beginning portion. They move forward into outside zone number 2. Another couple of bobbles there from that chase position. And around this inside clip, perfect from Zach. Along 5 as well. Good for 6. And big angle at that next outside zone. And here, I think Zach was going to come up a little bit short, but he makes an adjustment, picks up throttle really soon, makes it work. They cross the finish line for a clean start to the first half of their battle.
Now ready for the second half of the battle. Oliver Epinger now will lead things out. Zach O'Sullivan will chase him down. Only one gets to move on. The other goes home early. The lights go on and off they go. Oliver shooting out of the start gate and initiating in. Looking good on the initiation, but only midway through that first outer zone. Zach O'Sullivan a little bit deeper in that chase as they transition down towards outer zone 2. Kicking up some dirt for Oliver Epinger coming into outer zone 2, but not quite to that yellow line as they come through the inside clip. Dropping a tire again for Oliver Epinger, but Zach O'Sullivan doing a good job here to mimic what Oliver is doing as they come through that final outer zone. Gets it on the yellow line. Zach wheel to wheel with Oliver Epinger at the end.
Yeah, almost passing him across that finish line. We'll go to our replay here for the second half of the battle. Oliver Epinger leading Zach O'Sullivan through this course. Initiating in the Supra. Zach reeling him in quickly. Does sacrifice some line, but is a lot smoother on the angle through turn number 1 and 2 as well. We do see somehow that tiny little tire drop from Oliver heading into outside zone number 2. Nicely done for the inside clip. Another tire drop out front from Oliver for 5. 7 almost right there on that track edge. Picking up that throttle, working out to the outside. There they go across that finish line. We'll go to our judges once more here in the top 16. Zach O'Sullivan on the left, Oliver Epinger on the right. Winner moves on to face the winner of our next battle, Mustafa Amina and Brandon Gardner, or we have a one more time. So Chris and Ed choose one more time. Carl goes left for Zach O'Sullivan. We're going to line them back up.
So, the first one more time of the top 16 is called. Zach O'Sullivan and Oliver Epinger come back under the tower to go once again. Now Zach O'Sullivan will lead out the first half of the one more time battle. Oliver Epinger will chase him down yet again. The lights go on and the one more time battle's underway. Down the straight, initiating in Zach O'Sullivan, but there's Oliver Epinger, super wide, hitting Zach O'Sullivan into outer zone 1 as they manage to keep it together. And another contact there on the transition into outer zone 2, but Zach O'Sullivan doesn't look phased as the previous VDC champion should show. But Oliver Epinger isn't letting those mistakes go either, as he's managing to stay right on the door of Zach O'Sullivan. Gives him another push, and sends Zach into that wonderful snack stand that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, just about. We'll take another look at it here on the replay. First half of the one more time battle between these two. Zach O'Sullivan out front initiating in. Oliver, I think, going a little bit too deep there in that chase position. You see the rear end of his car bounce down like he dropped a tire. There we see our next bit of contact from Oliver Epinger in that chase position. Moving through now 3, 4, and into 5. Zach on a really good line there into 6. Now down into 7, where we have our next contact there, and our final transition. A little bump there right as Zach was picking up throttle, and then another one. Oliver continues on, but Zach goes off course, and we go back to the start gate.
Back around and ready for the second half of this one more time battle. Only one gets to move on. Oliver Epinger now leads it out. Zach O'Sullivan ready to chase him down for the second time here in the top 16 as they get the green light to go, and off they go, initiating in. Looking good for Oliver Epinger out front about midway through that first outer zone, but then manages to get out to that yellow line. Zach diving in and almost making contact with Oliver Epinger as they come through outer zone 4 or 2 down into 3, now into 4. Zach O'Sullivan sticking to the door of Oliver Epinger through outer zone 6. One more transition to go, one more outer zone in this battle in the top 16. They're wheel to wheel as they cross that finish line.
Yeah, Zach not really playing it safe at all here in that chase position. Let's take another look. Oliver Epinger out front. here on the replay. Second half, the one more time battle, nice and clean through the initiation and into turn number 1. Oliver super deep along that wall into outside zone number 2 now. Not dropping tire is Oliver into 2. Zach still right there with him. Nicely done around that inside clip from both of them. Heading up through the course now. Big angle there for 7. And now into the final outside zone right along that track edge. Zach right there with him though, crossing that finish line. We'll go to our judges once more between these two. Zach on the left, Oliver on the right. Do we have a winner this time? And there it is. Sullivan gets the win over Oliver Epinger and moves on into the top 8.
So after 2 battles, Sullivan takes that win, slots himself into the next round of competition. Now to decide who's going to see Sullivan in the top 8. Will it be Mustafa Amine in that IS300 in the lead lane, or will it be Brandon Gardner in the E36 in the chase? The lights go on and off they go for this top 16 battle. Initiating in, looking good for Mustafa Amine. Brandon Gardner right there matching that angle as they come into outer zone 1. Brandon Gardner trying to get it right up onto the door as they leave outer zone 1. No room for that transition into outer zone 2. Not as deep as Mustafa probably wanted to be into outer zone 2, but Brandon Gardner taking that into effect and grabbing the door of Mustafa Amine. They come through the transition section, transitioning on the bumpers. Now into the final outer zone. Brandon Gardner right there on the door of Mustafa Amine.
Yeah, nicely done really by both of them. Mustafa with a very clean lead out front, and then Brandon with a scrappy chase. Let's take this second look on the replay. Super deep out front is Mustafa, bumper right along that wall. Brandon Gardner right there in the chase, in the pocket along the bumper for that first transition, right back onto the door. Mustafa maybe a little bit deeper on outside zone number 2, but perfect on that inside box. Brandon still right there with him, bumper to bumper through these transitions and almost throwing it away there. Threw that one into the final outside zone now. Mustafa about as deep as you can be crossing that finish line.
Well, now we're back around at the start gate and ready for the second half of this top 16 battle. Brandon Gardner now in the lead, ready for Mustafa Amine to chase him as they leave the start gate and initiate in. Brandon Gardner looking good off that initiation. Mustafa Amine right up to the door through outer zone 1, but then backs out of it and then surges back forward. Now the transition into outer zone 2. I don't think it gets closer than that when they leave outer zone 2 and make that transition down towards outer zone 4. One half of the course done. Mustafa Amine not giving up. He is fighting for it as they come into that final outer zone. Mustafa Amine gets back on throttle. Brandon Gardner, good job out front, but man, what a transition into outer zone 2.
Oh my goodness. Transition of the century. Let's take another look at it here. Brandon Gardner out front. Mustafa in that chase position. Brandon throwing the car in, filling outside zone number 1. Mustafa a couple of bobbles here and there through turn number 1 and then almost throwing it away. I don't know how he made that work into outside zone number 2. Maybe a little tap there on that second transition into 3 as well. They continue on, filling 6, now down into 7. Big angle for 7 and into 8. Mustafa reeling him right back in for the final outside zone, staying in the pocket across the finish line. Wow, we go to our judges. Mustafa on the left, Brandon Gardner on the right. Winner moves on into the top 8. And it looks like we do have a decision. Mustafa Amina getting the win over Brandon Gardner, moving on into the top 8, and that's going to do it for the left-hand side of the bracket. So Mustafa's got Deco Sullivan later on in the top 8. Ethan, Pikachu, and Yaroslav Vasileo also will face off in the top 8. But first, we've got the right-hand side of the bracket. Tikhon Pleski and Daniel Andreev, Deshaun Reeves and Vitaly Asov, Alan Hines and Brandon Patrick, Nico Stilea and Nick Hayne, all coming up next here for the top 16.
Our first battle to the line for the right-hand side of the top 16 bracket. We have Tikhon Pleski in the lead lane up against previous winner of round 1, Daniel Andreev, ready to chase him down for the first battle. The lights go on and underway it goes. Daniel Andreev already looking to grab that rear bumper as they initiate in right to the door of Tikhon Pleski. Tikhon not as wide into outer zone 1 as he normally has been as they leave outer zone 1 and down towards outer zone 2. Andreev sticking right to the door of Tikhon Pleski, giving him no breathing room at whatsoever through the first half of the course, transitioning along that bumper any chance he can get in that one series as a big, almost a bobble, maybe a correction as they came into that final outer zone. Some contact, but not enough to upset them as they finish out the run wheel to wheel.
Yeah, Daniel coming very close to overdriving it there in that chase position behind Tikhon Pleski. Let's take a second look on the replay here. Tikhon out front, first half of their top 16 battle. Daniel reeling him in quickly, almost making contact here in turn number 1, about as close as you can be to avoid it. Tikhon doing a good job out front, filling outside zone number 1 and 2, now 3. Snappy transition, grabs that inside box, maybe just a little bit wide, but Daniel staying right there with him through these transitions. And there's that big bobble there from Daniel Andreev in that chase position. And there we have contact in the final outside zone. There they go across that finish line. We go back to the start for the second half.
Both drivers under the gate, ready for the second half of this battle. Daniel Andreev now leads it out. Tikhon Pleski ready to chase him down. They initiate in, looking good for Daniel Andreev. Tikhon already on the attack as Daniel does about the same line that Tikhon did through outer zone 1 in his lead, but transitioning along the bumper was Tikhon Pleski, sticking it to the door of Daniel Andreev. This is a battle here as they come through outer zone 4, now through 5, losing a bit of ground with Tikhon Pleski, but then transitioning along the bumper, now into the final outer zone. Daniel Andreev and Tikhon Pleski finishing it out door to door.
Oh my goodness gracious. Finals here in the top 16. Daniel Andreev out front this time in the replay. Second half of their battle. Tikhon throwing it in quickly and onto the door. Daniel leaving the outside just a little bit there in the middle portion, but back out to the outside. Tikhon sacrifices some angle before making that first transition into outside zone number 2. Backs up for the next one, stays with him through that next outside zone and up through this Manji section of the course, right along the bumper through that second to last transition, and then making a dive here in the last and final outside zone. Avoid some contact right there in the pocket, crossing that finish line. Wow, we go to our judges. Tikhon on the left, Daniel Andreev on the right. Winner moves on into the top 8, or do we send him again for a one more time? And there it is. We do have a winner. Tikan Pleski taking down Daniel Andrev. We do have a one more time from Carl down there on the bottom, with Chris and Ed go left for Tikan Pleski. He gets the win, and we'll see him in the top 8.
So Tikan making his way through to the top 8. Daniel Andrev sadly going home in the top 16. The next battle up to the line, Dijon Reeves up against Vitaly Azayev. This one will decide who goes to see Tikan in the top 8. Dijon qualifying 7th, Vitaly qualifying 10th. Both winning their battles in the top 32 now meet here in the top 16, but only one advances on further. The lights go on and off we go for this top 16 battle, initiating in for Dijon Reeves. Vitaly a little bit on the back foot coming into outer zone 1, trying to close that gap, and he manages to do so. Good proximity now, leaving outer zone 1 into outer zone 2, trying to get up on the door. Dijon doing a great job putting the car exactly where it needs to go as they leave outer zone 4 and get ready for the Manji section. Along the bumper was Vitaly through that section there, but out of outer zone 6, Dijon dropping tire in the lead as they come into the final outer zone. Vitaly almost pushing him through the final outer zone.
Yeah, we'll go back to the replay here. Rampage out front, Vitaly giving chase, and a good initiation from the Corvette out front. Nicely done around the entire wall for outside zone number 1. Along the bumper is Vitaly into outside zone number 2 and into 3, backing up just a little bit. Reeves doing a good job, 4-5. Good angle here, but does drop just a little bit of tire there before making that final transition across the track out to the track edge there out front. Vitaly pushing him across that finish line, and we'll run him back for the second half.
Back under the tower, Vitaly now in that lead lane. Dijon Reeves ready to chase him down. Let's see who will go see Tikan Pleski in the top 8. The lights go on and off they go. Second half underway, initiating in for Vitaly, and Dijon right there with them through outer zone 1 on the door as they come through it, leaving a little bit of room there as they exit outer zone 1, transitioning along the bumper. Dijon getting back up onto the door of Vitaly Azayev as he transitions through outer zone 3, almost hitting the car. I don't know how he didn't hit Vitaly in front on that transition. They come through the Manji section now. Dijon trying to stick with Vitaly as they come into that final outer zone. And now the push, get up onto the door and finish it out.
Yeah, nicely done. Really scrappy in the chase. Vitaly keeping it clean out front. Let's take another look here. Second half of their top 16 battle. Quickly on to the door is Rampage in that chase position, but falls back just a little bit in the middle section of outside zone number 1, but back onto the door for outside zone number 2. Vitaly on a good lead line right along the bumper through that second transition, following him along into the next for outside number 6 and 7. Into the final zone, picking up that throttle, almost getting pushed by Rampage, crossing that finish line. We'll go to our judges here. Rampage on the left, Vitaly on the right. Winner goes to the top 8, where they'll have to face Tikan Pleski. And we have a complete split call. Chris goes one more time. Ed goes Rampage. Carl goes Vitaly. Entirely split call. They go back to the start gate, and we'll send them again for one more time.
Well, another one more time called here in the top 16 for the Virtual Drift Championship, round 2 at Ruapuna Park. So, Dijon Reeves will slot back into the lead lane. Vitaly Azaev will get ready to chase him down once more. They get to the start gate and wait for those lights to turn on to start this one more time battle. And here we go. One more time underway. Dijon out front. Vitaly chasing him down, initiating in, looking good so far into outer zone 1. Gets right out to that yellow line. Vitaly on the attack though, almost wheel to wheel with him through outer zone 1, making the transition down to outer zone 2. Vitaly putting it on the door as they come through out of outer zone 2 through 3 down to 4 now. Vitaly taking a really deep inside line to try and stay with the Corvette of Dijon Reeves. Dijon Reeves making that same mistake through outer zone 5 as they, or outer zone 6, as they come into the final outer zone and cross the finish line.
Yeah, almost identical mistakes. This one may be a little worse with the tire drop along 7. We'll take another look. Dijon Reeves out front, filling outside zone number 1, backing that car up a little bit deeper for that wall. Vitaly staying there with him, leaving 1 and now into 2. Big angle out front from Reeves before he makes that next transition for 3. Around 4, a little bit wide at that inside clip. Could have been a little bit deeper on 5. Great for 6, and then drop in tire on 7. Quite a bit there. And before making that final transition, he makes it work with Vitaly in that chase position, almost pushing him across while making a couple of bobbles here and there.
Well, now we'll see how the second half of this battle plays out. Vitaly Azaev now in the lead. Dijon ready to chase him down. Tire smoke the whole way down the straight, initiating in. Dijon right there with them as they come. It's Vitaly's right on that yellow line through outer zone 1. But look at that proximity from Dijon Reeves in that chase as they come into outer zone 2. No breathing room at all as they come through outer zone 3 down to 4. Little ground loss there for Dijon Reeves. They make the Manji section happen. Now getting close into that final outer zone. 1 more to go. Little ground loss, but still within proximity as they cross the line.
Yeah, we'll go back to the replay. Second half of the one more time between these two. Vitaly out front. Reeves going after it immediately after that transition into outside zone number 1. Vitaly sticking it to the wall into outside zone number 2 now as well. But here we see separation being had. I think Reeves sticking to the door maybe a little bit too long before that transition, having to back up before it lost some momentum, but then gets back into the fight quickly into outside zone number 8 now across that finish line. And we'll go to our judges for this one more time. Reeves on the left, Vitaly on the right. So we have another one more time. We've got Chris and Ed going one more time. Carl goes right for Vitaly. We're going to line them back up for a second one more time.
Well, the first time in a long time that we've had 2 one more times back to back. And a call I feel like was needed. I mean, Dijon was way better in his chase that time, but still making the same mistakes in his lead. And Vitaly, same as well. So let's see what happens in the second one more time battle. As the drivers leave the pit area and come out onto the main straight. So Dijon Reeves will slot back into that lead position one more time. And now Vitaly will chase him down to hopefully decide who moves on to see Tikon Pleski in the top 8. The lights go on. Off they go. The second one more time battle underway. Dijon Reeves initiating in. Vitaly way closer this time off the initiation, keeping it right to the door as they come through outer zone 1. Nicely done by the chase, and now they transition to outer zone 2, keeping it on that yellow line to John Reeves. Vitaly sticking right to that door. A lot cleaner this time around through outer zone 4, now into 5. The Manji section, this is where he kept dropping the tires, but no tire drop this time around. There's John Reeves, Vitaly Azaev, door to door, wheel to wheel across the line.
Yeah, nicely done. Let's go back to the replay here. First half of the one more time. John Reeves out front. Vitaly throwing it onto the bumper and door quickly through that initiation into turn number 1. And nice and clean, leaving it now into 2. Vitaly applying some pressure here in this chase position right along the bumper through 3, around 4, where Deshaun is a little bit wide. Continuing on, not dropping tire this time for 7. Final outside zone, picking up that throttle early. Vitaly staying there with him right into the pocket, across that finish line.
We're now back around yet again for the second one more time battle, the second half of the one more time battle. Vitaly Azaev lead things out. John Reeves will chase him down. Will we have a decision? Initiating in, looking good off the initiation. Dijon Reeves stuck to the door of Vitaly Azaev through outer zone 1 as they leave it and transition along the bumper into outer zone 2. Dijon Reeves on the attack here. Vitaly Azaev doing a good job through outer zone 2. They come through 3 and now 4. They transition along the bumper yet again. One more into outer zone 6. One more transition to go along the bumper into outer zone 8. No contact, but on the door and wheel to wheel across that finish line.
Nice and clean this time. Let's go back to the replay here. This time Vitaly out front. Rampage throwing it in quickly, trying to be right in the door as quick as he possibly can. Follows him nicely through turn number 1, right along the bumper through that first transition. Very clean leaving here around that inside clip. Vitaly wide as well. Reeves staying there with him, bumper to bumper through each and every one of these transitions. Nice and clean into the last and final outside zone. Both picking up throttle, staying on track. And then they go across that finish line. We'll go to our judges. Do we have a decision this time? Reeves on the left, Asaf on the right. It looks like we do have a decision. It is going to be Vitaly Azaev getting the win. Chris and Carl go right. Ed goes left for Rampage. That's going to send Vitaly off to the top 8 later on today.
Well, as much as that felt like a final battle, we are still only in the top 16 with 2 spots remaining in the top 8, which means 2 more sets of battles to go, including this one under our start gate. Team Hinesy RTR Mustang, Alan Hines himself in the lead lane up against Brandon Patrick in the chase, ready to chase him down. Lights go on and the battle's quickly underway. Alan Hines initiating in. Brandon Patrick right there with him as they come into outer zone 1. Good angle, good proximity from the chase as he's right there almost wheel to wheel with Alan Hines through outer zone 1. Down into outer zone 2. Alan Hines keeping it almost right along that yellow line as they transition along the bumper. Brandon Patrick trying to stay on the door of Alan Hines through this Manji section and making quick work of that back bumper into the final outer zone. Brandon Patrick gets on the door. Alan Hines stays on the yellow line. They finish out wheel to wheel.
Yeah, good start to the battle here amongst friends. Alan Hines out front. Brandon Patrick giving chase. Alan throwing his Mustang into turn number 1 early, picking up throttle early as well and keeping it smooth through the first outside zone. Brandon Patrick taking advantage. Throwing it into outside zone number 2. We see a big dive from BPAT back there right along the bumper through the next transition. Nicely done for that inside box. They continue on now. Good angle through this Manji section of the course, keeping it within those track limits as well. Picking up throttle early and nice and smooth from Alan Hines out front, pouring on the angle before crossing that finish line.
Well, now background at the start gate and ready for the second half of their battle. Brandon Patrick will now lead things out. Alan Hines ready to chase him down to see who takes the next spot in the top 8. Brandon Patrick lighting up those tires all the way down the straight, initiating in. Looking good off the initiation. Alan Hines losing out a little bit in the first half of the outer zone, but then quickly gets back up into proximity as he comes into outer zone 2. Right along the door, Brandon Patrick transitioning along the bumper into outer zone 4 now into the Manji section. Alan Hines sticking right with Brandon Patrick. Brandon Patrick putting that car exactly where it needs to go into that final outer zone contact from Alan Hines, sending Brandon Patrick off course.
Yeah, it sure did. We'll take another look here on the replay. Brandon Patrick out front, Alan giving chase. Quick initiation. That rate to angle was fast from Brandon Patrick, making it work around outside zone number 1. Alan giving up a little bit of room, but making the dive in outside zone number 2. Snappy transition out front, goes a little bit wide of that inside box, but grabs that next zone nicely. The next one as well, now down into 7, staying within those track limits once more. Final transition, picking up that throttle quickly, but we do have some contact, sending Brandon off track. He was a little bit wide on those rumbles. The rumbles are allowed there in the beginning portion of the zone. They just need to be back onto the track before that rumble strip ends, or they will drop a tire. The judges might take a couple of looks at it before we get a decision, but Alan's on the left, Brandon Patrick's on the right. Winner goes on into the top 8 to face the winner of our next battle, Nico Stilea and Nick Hang. Our final top 16 battle coming up next. It does seem like we have a decision as we're bringing the next battle to the line. And there it is. They are going to go left for Alan Hines. Maybe we can get Chris in here to clarify. I'm going to guess it's from Brandon Patrick being a little bit wide there coming into that last and final outside zone, having to drive that car back to the inside. So we'll see if we can get Chris on in here to give us a judge's explanation.
Hello.
Hello, Chris. How's it going?
Yeah, tough day at the office, but what else is new? Yeah, so on that one there, it was a very, very tight call. Obviously, that all comes down to the contact, and from what we can see, we've gone back and looked at it a few times. For us, it's just that Brandon gets back on power just a hair too late, and unfortunately, there is a little bit of front wheel to front wheel contact, and it does cause, obviously, the run to end, and it is a full incomplete at that point, and we have to ascertain fault. As I say, for us, it is just that Brandon picks up throttle a little bit too late and therefore isn't fully fulfilling the XL decel map, and therefore he is at fault for the contact. Thus, Alan takes the win. But I will say that Brandon's chase in that first run was quite possibly the best we've seen all day, and it's very unfortunate for the battle to have to end that way.
Absolutely, it sure was. Thank you so much for the explanation and all your judging that you do for us, Chris.
No worries.
Maybe we'll hear from you more. Maybe we won't, but we'll head on to our next battle.
The next and final battle of the top 16 here for the round 2 of the Virtual Drift Championship at Ruapuna Park. In the lead lane, Nico Stilea in that RTR Mustang. Chasing him down, Nick Hang as they come into outer zone 1. Very quick, and there's Nick Hang right on the door of Nico Stilea. Into outer zone 2 now. Nico putting it right on that yellow line. Nick Hang giving him no breathing room at all as they leave that inside clip down through outer zone 4, now into outer zone 5, transitioning along the bumper. Nick sticking with Nico in that Mustang, getting on the door, putting that Ford-on-Ford battle to the finish.
Yeah, nicely done. Another battle of the purples as well. I'm loving the purple this year. Let's take another look. Nico out front. Nick Hang in that chase position, reeling him in quickly. Is Nick Hang through outside zone number 1. I don't think you can be any deeper than Nico Stilea in that first outside zone. Outside zone number 2, nicely done as well. Here we see him go a little bit wide of that inside clip. Makes it work. Nick taking advantage, staying with him through this Manji section of the course, sacrificing just a little bit of angle there, coming into the last and final outside zone. There they go across that finish line, door to door. We'll go back to the start gate.
Back at the start gate and ready for the second half of their battle. Nick Hang now in the lead. Nico Stilea ready to chase him down. Only one moves on to see Alan Hines in the top 8. Initiating in for Nick Hang, looking good off the initiation. Nico Stilea right there with him. As Nico's keeping a good proximity through outer zone 1. Nick Hang transitioning down into outer zone 2. Nico trying to catch back up to the door as they leave outer zone 2. Now through 3. Nico on the door through that inside clip as he leaves the room now for the transition for this Manji section into outer zone 6. One more to go. Nick Hang looking good out front. A bobble from the chase of Nico Stilea, but he gets it up on the door there at the finish line.
Yeah, right back into the pocket there before crossing that finish line. Let's take a second look here on the replay. Nick Hang out front here in the second half of our final top 16 battle. Nico reeling him in quickly, sacrificing a little bit of line there in that chase position, falling back a little bit, leaving outside zone number 1. Makes a dive here into outside zone number 2, but sacrificing some line. What's more is Nico, another dive there across the inside clip. Nick Hang doing a good job out front, filling these outside zones now. Big angle 4-7. Transitions back for the final outside zone, keeps it clean, picking up throttle, and there they go across that finish line. We go to our judges, maybe for the last time here in the top 16. Nico on the left, Nick on the right, or do we have another one more time before ending this top 16 here for round number 2? We'll also have to figure out Nico's picture of his Mustang there, as it is clearly broken. And we do have a decision. Nico Stilea gets the win over Nick Hang, moves on into the top 8, and we'll pull up our top 16 bracket for the last time before pulling up our top 8 bracket. So, Ethan, Pikachu getting the win. He'll face Yaroslav Vasileo, Dako Sullivan, and Mustafa Amine. Econ Pleski and Vitalia Saul, Alan Hines, and Nico Stilea all up next for our top 8. There it is, your top 8 bracket. If you'd like to take some screenshots to follow along, they're all in the server now, getting a couple of practice runs in, making sure all of their equipment is working as intended before sending them off for our top 8. Any predictions, Tanner?
It's so close. I mean, we have Ethan who fought his way through the last 16 battles, and then now he's all the way into the top 8. Zach O'Sullivan, a previous VDC champion. Alan Hines, VDC champion. Pleski, VDC champion. I mean, any of these guys can take it. Mustafa Amine has been on a tear all day. Nico Stilea looking so comfortable in that RTR Mustang. And then we have Vitali, who can just come out of nowhere and upset anybody's run. This can go any way and direction, and I am here for it.
Absolutely. Look, they're coming to the line now for our first top 8 battle.
And they sure are. The first battle of the top 8. Yaroslav Vasileo in the lead lane being chased down by Ethan Pikachu. The lights go on and the top 8 is underway. Yaroslav initiating in, looking good. Ethan already on the attack as they come into outer zone 1, but he's bobbing around quite a bit in that chase through outer zone 1. They leave it down towards outer zone 2 now. Yaroslav doing a good job to put that big BMW right on that yellow line, but Ethan giving him no room to breathe as they leave outer zone 4 and now transition along the bumper into outer zone 5. Now for outer zone 6, leave just enough room as here comes that decel into outer zone 7. And look at that, Ethan just touching the door at the finish line.
Yeah, scrappy first run for our first top 8 battle here for round number 2. Yaroslav out front. Ethan giving chase, initiating in, picking up throttle quickly, and a bunch of bobbles there from Ethan in that chase position, but then gets right back into it and gets settled. Now into outside zone number 2. Yaroslav extremely smooth out front, snappy transition, grabs that inside box perfectly with that bigger car. Now down across 6, filling 7. Great pace as well before making that final transition, picks up throttle, jumps out of the zone just a little bit, but then right back into it with Ethan right on the door crossing that finish line.
Well, now back around at the start gate and ready for the second half of their battle. Ethan now in the lead. Yaroslav ready to chase him down to see who will take the first spot in the final 4. Lights go on. Initiating in is Ethan. Good off that initiation. Yaroslav right there on the door through outer zone 1 as they come through it. Look at that wheel to wheel out of outer zone 1 from Yaroslav in that chase into outer zone 2. Yaroslav losing a bit of ground and kind of having to surge through outer zone 2 to get back up on the door of Ethan as they come through that inside clip now into the Manji section. Along the bumpers they go through outer zone 6. One last transition to go. It perfectly on the line, but dropping a tire from Ethan, which puts Yaroslav right on the door.
Yeah, dropping just a little bit of tire in that final outside zone is Ethan out front. Let's take another look. Second half to our first top 8 battle. Initiating in, good angle. Immediately from Ethan, filling that outside zone number 1. No bobbles this time out front. Yaroslav falling back a lot, but then reeling him in quickly for outside zone number 2, right along the bumper for the next transition. Nicely done for the inside clip as well as they move down through this Sardamanji section of the course down into the last and final outside zone where he's got a lot of speed, drops just a tiny bit of tire, gets it back on track. They cross the finish line and we go to our judges for the first time here in the top 8. Ethan on the left, Yaroslav on the right. Do we have a winner here or another one more time here for round number 2? And we do not. Chris, Ed, and Carl, unanimous decision. Yaroslav Vasileo gets the win, moves on into the final 4.
But an impressive fight from Ethan, making his way from the last 16 yesterday all the way to the top 8 today. But ultimately, Yaroslav moves on as we have our next battle under the tower. Zach O'Sullivan in the E36 BMW in our lead lane up against the IS300 of Mustafa Amine. Mustafa has been absolutely crazy in chase all day today. Let's see how he stacks up against the prior VDC champion, initiating in into outer zone 1. Zach O'Sullivan keeping it nice and wide through outer zone 1 right along that wall. Mustafa Amine already not giving him any breathing room through outer zone 1 or 2. Good proximity, transitioning right along that bumper, right to the door through outer zone 5, or outer zone 4, now through 5 into 6, dropping some tire for the chase of Mustafa Amine out of outer zone 6 into that final outer zone. Amine glued to that door of Zach O'Sullivan.
Yeah, he sure was, but bit off a little more than he could chew, I think, coming into Flip 7. Zach O'Sullivan out right here on the replay. Mustafa giving chase and doing a really good job here, both of them. Zach, nice and smooth for outside zone number 1, staying along that wall. Mustafa taking advantage here through this transition into outside zone number 2 now. Nice and smooth by both of them. Almost some contact there through that second transition. And here, through 6, and hangs on to that door just a little bit too long. Throws Mustafa off track just a little bit early of that clip number 7. There they go across that finish line. We'll take it back to the start gate for the second half.
Well, back at the start gate and ready for the second half. Mustafa Amine now in the lead. Zach O'Sullivan ready to chase him down to see who will be up against Yaroslav Vasileo in that final 4. The light goes on and initiating in. Looking good off the initiation right along that wall, but look at Zach O'Sullivan wheel to wheel with Mustafa Amine through all of outer zone 1, transitioning along that bumper, kicking up some dirt from Mustafa Amine, not quite filling all of outer zone 2, but Zach O'Sullivan sticking right there with him, and not even barely filling outer zone 4. On the back foot is our lead as they come into that final outer zone. And Mustafa not filling it all the way out, but Zach following him perfectly and staying glued to that door.
Yeah, Mustafa falling apart a little bit there out front. Let's take a second look here. He's out front. Zach O'Sullivan giving chase, throwing it onto the door quickly. Nice and smooth by both of them through outside zone number 1 along that wall. Preparing for that transition is Zach in that chase position. Sacrifices a little bit of line in outside zone number 2. Makes a dive here. Mustafa going wide of the inside clip and then does not fill 5 at all. Now down across 7. He's a little late there. Comes up on big angle. Comes up short as well of the final outside zone and then gets pushed across that finish line by Zach O'Sullivan. We'll go to our judges once more here in the top 8. Zach O'Sullivan on the left, Mustafa on the right. Winner goes to the top 4 to face Yaroslav Vasileo. And there it is, a unanimous decision for Zach O'Sullivan getting the win over Mustafa Amine. But again, Mustafa, a transition of the day for sure in that chase position.
Oh, absolutely. Mustafa throwing it down in that IS 300, and we will for sure see him at round 3. But we have round 2 to finish off. On the right side of the bracket now, Pleski in the lead lane. Vitaly Azayev ready to chase him down. The lights go on, and quickly underway is this battle, initiating in for Pleski. Vitaly Azayev getting right up on the door through outer zone 1, about midline for T-Com before moving all the way out to that yellow line for outer zone 1. Now through outer zone 2, Vitaly sticking glued to the door of T-Com Pleski. That transition out of 3 down to 4 was textbook as he stayed glued to the door of T-Com Pleski. Coming through outer zone 6 now into outer zone 7. Wheel to wheel, door to door, Vitaly in that chase.
Yeah, going after it there. Let's take a second look. T-Con Pleski out front. Vitaly Azayev in that chase position in the first half of their top 8 battle. T-Con could have been a little bit deeper in the beginning portion of outside zone number 1. Vitaly staying right there with him across that bumper into 2 now. Hanging the wing over the wall and continue on making their transition a little bit wide of that inside box is T-Con out front. Vitaly still staying right there with him. Final transition here into the last outside zone, picking up that throttle and almost dropping tire as T-Con out front. They continue on across that finish line, and we'll flip him around for the second half.
And flipped around indeed. Vitaly Azayev now in the lead lane. T-Com Pleski ready to chase him down for the second half of this battle. to take one of the 2 remaining spots left in the final 4. The lights go on, and off we go. Vitaly, lighten up those tires all the way down, initiating in. Tikon on the attacks. They come into outer zone 1, right against the walls. Vitaly Azaev. Tikon Pleski with a good proximity to Vitaly as they leave outer zone 1, down into outer zone 2. Some contact there, maybe from Tikon Pleski as they came through outer zone 2, clean through outer zone 3 and 4, now through 5. And then down to 6 along the bumper for that transition. Vitaly looking good out front. Tikon with a little bit of a bobble there in that chase. He tries to get the car settled into the zone as they finish out the run.
Ooh, do we have a winner here? Let's take another look at it here. Vitaly leading Tikon through the second half of their top 8 battle here on the replay. Nicely done for outside zone number 1, hanging the bumper inside that wall. Anyone leaving 1 now. Tikon, big dive into 2, staying right there with him. Look at the both wings hanging over the wall. Another good transition there, a little bit wide of the inside is Vitaly, sacrificing a little bit of angle around the inside as well. I think a big angle for 7 though, pacing himself through this portion of the course. A little awkward there into the last and final outside zone. Tikon dealing with it. There they go across that finish line, and we go to our judges. Tikon on the left, Vitaly on the right. And there it is, Tikon Pleski getting the win and moving on into the final 4, where he'll have to face Yaroslav Vasileo.
Well, now our final battle of the top 8, an all-team Heinze battle, RTR Mustang battle. Alan Hines in the lead lane. Beside him, joining the team this year, Nico Stilea. The light goes on and off they go. Initiating in, Alan Hines, Nico right there with him as they come into outer zone 1. Bit of a wall tap, couldn't tell from who as they come out of outer zone 1 and now transition down towards outer zone 2. Nico on the attack to Alan Hines. They transition down to outer zone 3. He's trying to get right up to the door of Alan, leaving no room on that transition. Bumper to bumper, down towards the final outer zone. Here they go into it on the yellow line. Nico right there on the door of Alan Hines, and they cross that line.
Wow, what a start to this all RTR battle. Take another look. Alan Hines out front. Teammate Nico close in chase for outside zone number 1. A little tap on the wall from Alan Hines. Or outside zone number 1 now into 2. Nico sacrificing a little bit of line, but works it back out there into the pocket of the other Mustang around that inside clip. Nicely done for 5. Sacrifice a little bit of angle out front from Alan in 6, but good angle for 7, picking up that throttle early, staying on that track edge. Nico right there in tow across that finish line.
Well, now back around at the start gate, Nico now takes that lead position. Alan Hines ready to chase him down. Only one teammate gets to advance on in this all RTR battle. The lights go on down the straight, lighting him up through the initiation into outer zone 1. Alan Hines right on the door of Nico Stilea, almost pushing him through outer zone 1 as they come through outer zone 2. Now still wheel to wheel, door to door through outer zone 3 towards outer zone 4, leaving just enough room for that transition into outer zone 6. One more outer zone to go. Nico gets it slowed down, but contact from Alan Hines as he keeps it on the door and crosses that finish line.
Oh my goodness. Nico applying some pressure to a boss man. Alan Hines, excuse me, the other way around. Nico out front. Working their way through now. Alan. They're lucky we don't have colliders for these front wheels, as we definitely have some cars mounting each other each and every single battle. And I'm not sure how Nico didn't drop a tire there, or that outside zone after the inside clip, but he doesn't. They continue on. Look at that. Oh, and some contact in the last and final outside zone. Man, do we have a winner here for our final top 8 battle? Alan Hines and Nico Stilea. Alan on the left, Nico on the right. I am not so sure. Do we have a one more time? I mean, we do have some contact from Alan Hines in that chase position. Nico doing a good job to deal with it. Stays on track. They continue on like it didn't really happen. Yeah. Is it going to be Nico slowed down maybe a little bit too much? Did Alan come in a little bit hot? Is it shared ball? Oh, and we have a decision here, and it is split all the way down once more. Chris goes left for Alan. We've got a one more time from Ed, and Carl goes right for Nico. So we will line these teammates back up here for the final battle of the top 8.
Well, this is gonna be good. One more time here in the top 8. In the all RTR battle, Team Hinesy. Alan Hines in the lead, Nico Stilea ready to chase him down. Only one advances on. The lights go on and off they go. And here we go for the one more time battle. Alan Hines initiates it. Nico right there with him off the initiation in outer zone 1. Keeping it nice and tight towards the wall. And Nico keeping it on the door of Alan Hines as they transition down to outer zone 2. Nico trying to apply that pressure, putting it on to Alan Hines. They come out of outer zone 3 down to outer zone 4, leaving just enough room for these transitions as they come through into the final outer zone. Nico gets on that door of Alan Hines and gives him a little tap there right at the end.
Oh my goodness gracious. Lead and chase both putting on a show here. Let's take another look. First half of the one more time, Alan out front, leading Nico through this course. Nicely done for outside zone number 1. Alan staying off the wall this time. Nico going for a big dive in 2 and makes it work. Right into the pocket of Alan Hines out front. Bumper to bumper for the next transition, and perfect on that inside box is Alan out front. Once more, a small bobble for 6, grabs 7 with big angle, and now into 8, picking up that throttle early, staying smooth. Nico taking advantage and pushing Boss Man across the finish line.
Well, now back around at the start gate, ready for the second half of their one more time battle and what could be the last battle of the top 8. We've already seen another battle go 2 one more times. Could it happen again? Nico Stilea now in the lead. Alan Hines ready to chase him down. Lighting up the tires all the way down the straight, initiating in. Alan Hines already on the door before outer zone 1 as they come through it. We'll see here Alan Hines is in the door of Nico Stilea as they come into outer zone 2. Contact into the wall. Looked like Nico went into it, but it didn't affect him as they transition down to outer zone 4 now. Transitioning to 5 along the bumper. Alan Hines sticking right with teammate Nico Stilea into the final outer zone. No contact this time, just doors and wheels as they cross that finish line.
Again, they're lucky we don't have or can't have colliders with these moving wheels. Let's take another look. Nico out front being pushed around by boss man Alan Hines. Door to door through outside zone number 1. Nice and clean from Nico. Extremely close is Alan through the first transition and leaving 1, now into 2, and it is tough to see if there's some contact from Alan in that chase position first, or is it Nico hitting the wall. Now Nico going wide of inside clip. He's leaving 3 just a little bit early and maybe throwing him off line for that inside clip, but he grabs everything else nicely. Alan taking advantage, putting it on the tour. We'll go to our judges once more here in the top 8. Winner moves on to the final 4 to face Pleski. Do we have a Nico and Tikon or an Alan and Tikon? We've got an Alan and Tikon in the final 4. Alan moves on over teammate Nico Stilea after a tough tough battle. We'll take a final look at the top 8 bracket before moving on into our final 4. Up next, Yaroslav Vasileo and Zach Sullivan, Pleski, and Alan Hines. Again, before moving on into our final 4, we'll take another look at it here. Three previous champions, all here in the final 4 for round number 2.
An ending this is going to be here to round 2 of the Virtual Drift Championship as we have our first battle of the top 4 ready to go. Zach Sullivan in the lead lane in that E36 BMW up against Yaroslav Vasileo in the chase. The lights go on, and a big gap from Zach Sullivan. Caught sleeping was Yaroslav. He quickly catches up to the door of Zach, but gives it a little tap at the exit of Outer Zone 1. Now down in Outer Zone 2, keeping it wheel to wheel as Yaroslav as they transition down towards Outer Zone 4. Maybe another little tap there from Yaroslav, and it almost straightens as he comes into the Outer Zone 5, now through 6, down into that final Outer Zone. Zach keeping it along that yellow line. Yaroslav keeping it on the wheel. They finish out the first half of this battle.
Yeah, nice and clean. Looks like we avoided any contact as well. Let's take another look here. Zach saying, see you later off the line and leaving Yaroslav behind. Yaroslav having to reel him in quickly, and he does so. He sacrifices a little bit of line, but I mean, he shot a bow and arrow at him and reeled him in quickly. They continue. Zach filling 3 around that inside clip. Nicely done for the box, maybe a little bit wide, but grabs these next zones nicely. Good angle for 7, pacing himself through this course and into the final outside zone where he picks up throttle super early, keeps it going across that finish line with Yaroslav right there with him.
Yaroslav now in the lead. Zach Sullivan ready to chase him down to see who advances on, who moves to the 3rd place battle. The lights go on and off they go. Down the straight, initiating in. Looking good for Yaroslav, but Zach quickly trying to get on the door through Outer Zone 1. As Zach keeps a good proximity as they leave Outer Zone 1. Vasileo doing a good job to keep that car exactly where it needs to be, right on that yellow line. They leave Outer Zone 2 down through Outer Zone 3 to 4 now. Zach right there in the right on the door of Yaroslav. Now they come through Outer Zone 6. One last transition, one last Outer Zone. Here they go on throttle. Maybe a little deeper Yaroslav could have been, but Zach finishing out right along the door.
Excellent. Top 4 battle here. Let's take another look. Second half of the battle, Yaroslav out front leading previous champion Zach Sullivan, and Zach getting onto the door quickly, sacrificing a little bit of line there in that chase position. And next to that bigger BMW out front, sacrificing some more line in that chase position for outside zone number 2. Nicely done in the pocket for these next set of zones though, as they work their way through down into the last and final one. Final transition coming up. Zach making another dive there in that chase position, gets right up into the pocket there and across the finish line. We'll go to our judges here in the top 4. Yaroslav on the left, Zach on the right. We've got a one more time. Carl goes right for Zach Sullivan, but it's a one more time from Chris and Ed. We'll line him back up.
So one more time called here in the top 4. Round 2 is quickly coming to a close. But first, we got to get through these battles. Zach Sullivan now slots back into that lead lane. Yaroslav ready to chase him down once more to see who goes into the finals, who goes into the 3rd place matchup. The lights go on, and off they go for the one more time. Initiating in, Zach O'Sullivan looking good on that initiation. Yaroslav not sleeping at the line this time as he gets on the door of Zach O'Sullivan as they exit Outer Zone 1, now down into Outer Zone 2. Yaroslav loses some ground through Outer Zone 2, catches up as he leaves Outer Zone 3. Through Outer Zone 4, now Zach putting it right track edge to track edge. But Yaroslav trying his best to stick with them as they come into that final outer zone right along the yellow line. Yaroslav's on the wheel of Zach O'Sullivan as they finish out the first half of this battle.
Yeah, nicely done, and a much better run up from Yaroslav. Let's take another look here on the replay. Zach O'Sullivan leading him through this one more time battle. Initiating in, quickly getting on throttle is Zach. Following that track edge all the way around. A little nudge from Yaroslav there in that chase position. Now into 2. Lean from both of those drivers. Snappy transition from Zach out front, and he grabs that inside box perfectly. They work their way through 6. Now 7. Big angle from Zach. I don't know how he didn't drop a tire there and continuing on, picking up throttle early right along that track edge and getting pushed across that finish line.
Well, now back around at the start line, ready to go for the second half of this one more time battle. Yaroslav Vasileo in the lead. Zach O'Sullivan ready to chase him down. Will there be a decision at the end of this run? Initiating in, Zach O'Sullivan on the attack, right on the door, off of Outer Zone 1 from the initiation, and didn't leave it all the way to the transition to Outer Zone 2. Vasileo gets it out to that yellow line by the end exit. Zach O'Sullivan sticking right with them though as they come through Outer Zone 4, now into 5. Zach trying to keep up with the speed of Yaroslav through this power section, now into the final outer zone. They get it slowed down. Zach gets on the wheel and the door of Yaroslav.
And we'll go back to the replay once more here with Yaroslav out front. Second half of their one more time battle. Zach, super aggressive off that initiation and right onto the door of Yaroslav. I'm not sure how he didn't make any contact there. Maybe he did, but they kept it clean anyway. Now into 2. Zach sacrificing a little bit of line and angle in that chase position, backing up for that transition, makes another dive for the inside clip, staying with that bigger BMW, finds himself a little bit on the inside for 6. Now 7 and into 8. Where Yaroslav jumps out of that last and final outside zone, then works it back to the outside. And we go to our judges once more here between these two. Yaroslav on the left, Zach O'Sullivan on the right. Winner goes to the finals. And it looks like we have a decision. Zach O'Sullivan gets the win over Yaroslav Vasileo. We had one more time from Chris, but Ed and Carl go right. We'll see Zach O'Sullivan in the finals. We'll also see Yaroslav Vasileo in our third place battle right after our next Final Four battle between Tikon Pleski and Alan Hines.
Getting a little deja vu with this battle. It's bringing me back to the early days of the VDC when we used to see these two fighting it out win for win every round. Tikon Pleski versus Alan Hines. This is going to be a good battle. These two have always thrown it down and have brought us crazy clips left, right, and center. So, Tikon Pleski, he will slot into the lead lane as they come down the pit lane. There you guys are, hurry up. Tikon Pleski will start off leading out run number 1. Alan Hines will chase him down for the first half of this battle. One moves on to see Zach O'Sullivan at the end, the other to see Yaroslav Vasileo for that third place matchup. The lights come on and off they go. Down the straight, initiating in, Tikon right to angle. Alan Hines, a little bit of a bobble there into outer zone 1, but quickly gets up onto the door of Tikon Pleski through outer zone 1. Now transitioning down to outer zone 2. Tikon glued to that door through, Alan glued to the door of Tikon through outer zone 2, and a little touch there into outer zone 4. Now they transition into outer zone 5, still bumper to bumper and wheel to wheel as they come into that final outer zone. Alan Hines gets up onto the door of Tikon as they finish out that run.
All right, interesting start between these two. Tikon out front here on the replay. Alan Hines giving chase here in the top 4 for round number 2. Tikon initiating in and quick to angle, but has to pull the angle out and then back into it. Quite the bobble, and maybe throwing Alan off a little bit, but he's right there with him, leaving turn number 1. Now into 2. Good snappy transition and some contact there from that chase position, but we do see Tikon going a little bit wide there, filling that next outside zone down into the last and final one, picking up that throttle and continuing on across that finish line. We'll go back to the start gate for the second half.
Well, looks like we are ready for the second half. Alan Hines under the tower in the lead lane now. Tikon Pleski ready to chase him down. The lights go on in the second half underway, initiating in, looking good for Alan Hines, right to angle. Tikon Pleski matching him as they come into outer zone 1. Tikon getting on that door, but backing out of it just a little bit out of outer zone 1 so he can set up for outer zone 2. Quickly surges up onto the door of Alan Hines. They transition through outer zone 3, keeping it wheel to wheel through that inside clip in outer zone 4. Now through the transitions right along the bumper. He is trying to keep it right there on the door. Tikon Pleski, Alan Hines on the yellow line, Tikon on the door. They finish out the run.
Wow, let's take another look. Go back to the replay here. Maybe for the last time for the final 4. We head into the finals. Alan throwing the car in nice and smooth, snaps to that angle and holds it for outside zone number 1, adding a little bit there before leaving and leaving Tikon behind a little bit. Now Tikon making a massive dive into outside zone number 2, and then right along that bumper, Alan very nicely done for the inside clip. Continuing on for 6, has good angle this time. 7 as well. Last and final transition, Alan picking up that throttle, staying on that trek edge. Tikon looking inside of Alan's car around that last and final outside zone, and we'll go to our judges. Tikon Pleski on the left, Alan Hines on the right. Do we have a decision here for our final 4? Who moves on to the finals? Will it be Tikon? Will it be Alan? So we do have a decision. We've got one more time from Chris. Ed and Carl go left for Tikon Pleski. Maybe we can get one of those in here for clarification on why Tikon gets the win. I understand Tikon gets the win. Just maybe some clarification. I think it's going to be from that contact along the inside clip. So again, we'll see who we can get here in the chat with us. And there's your look at the bracket. It will be Zach Sullivan and Tikon Pleski in the finals, while Yaroslav and Alan Hines will face off for 3rd place. Coming up next, again, we'll see if we can get a judge in here to give us some clarification on Tikon getting the win over Alan Hines. Very close battle. And no, it does not look like. There we go. There's Ed.
Hello. Sorry, I didn't hear you. as I was talking to the drivers.
No worries. We might want to reset those drivers back to the line as well, so they're not iced there. But yeah, we just wanted to hear, how Pikachu got the win over Alan Hines. I'm gonna guess maybe the contact there for inside clip.
Yeah, that definitely was a factor. Alan's chase also was a little bit on edge in places where Ticon's a little bit more controlled. There was a definite advantage in some places for Ticon as well for slightly better angle matching, especially if you look at like clip 8, chase to chase. Ticon did a much better job there. And lead to lead, both really good. I think also Ticon's first corner in the chase was slightly better. But yeah, nip and tuck. But yeah, that's what swayed it for me and Carl.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ed, for everything that y'all do, all three of you judges, and we'll go right on into our third place battle.
All right, catch you in a bit.
Well, now here we go. The third place matchup between Alan Hines and Yaroslav Vasileo. Alan Hines, Team Hines, the RTR Mustang. Yaroslav in the BMW. The lights go on. The third place matchup is underway. Initiating in, Alan Hines looking great into outer zone 1. Vasileo matching his angle beautifully, wheel to wheel through all of outer zone 1, making a beautiful transition into outer zone 2. Alan Hines could have been a little bit wider there, but maybe choking up the transition was Vasileo there into outer zone 3. Now they come through outer zone 4 into 5. Looking good so far through 6. Get it slowed down from 7 right on that yellow line. But look at the aggression from Vasileo. Is a big hit there right at the finish line.
Yeah, a little too much aggression across that finish line. Let's take another look. Alan out front here for the third place battle. Yaroslav giving chase. Going for a little bit of a side-by-side initiation. Reels him in quick. Adding some angle there in that chase position. Matching it nicely to that big Mustang out front. Continuing on for outside zone number 2. Alan could have been a little bit deeper maybe for it around that inside clip. Nicely done, putting that lead wheel in the middle of that box. Continuing on, filling 7, now into 8, picking up that throttle early. Very similar to every single lead run Alan has been doing, and then pushed across that finish line and off course.
Well, now we flip them around. And we do it once again. The second half of the battle. Yaroslav now in the lead. Alan Hines ready to chase him down for the third place matchup. The lights go on and off they go. Down the straight, initiating in. Yaroslav, 2 angled through outer zone 1. Alan Hines on the attack. Sticking right with him, matching him through all of outer zone 1 as they come into outer zone 2. Yaroslav gets it right out just about to that yellow line. And Alan Hines sticking right there with him, not giving him any breathing room. They come through outer zone 4, down to 5 now. One more transition into 6, and one more into the final outer zone. Alan Hines right there with Vasileo, getting on the door and crossing that finish line.
Yeah, we'll go right back to that replay between these two. Second half of the third place battle. Yaroslav out front this time. Alan chasing him down and quickly onto the door for outside zone number 1 right after that initiation. Nice and clean from Alan. Nice and clean from Yaroslav out front. Smooth on the transition into outside zone number 2. Hanging the wing over that wall. Alan getting a little caught up in that second transition, but makes it work. Gets around that inside clip as Yaroslav filling that next zone down into 7 now as well. Good pace through into the last and final outside zone where he picks up that throttle. Stays on that track edge with Alan right there in tow. We'll go to our judges. Do we have a winner here for third place before moving on into our final battle for round number 2 here at Ruapuna Park? Yaroslav on the left, Alan Hines on the right. Winner takes home third place. And there it is. Alan Hines takes home third place over Yaroslav Vasileo. Fantastic battle there for third.
So Alan Hines getting the win, taking home third place, and now it comes down to this. From yesterday's qualifying to the last 16 battles to today's top 32, top 16, top 8, final 4, and now the final battle here for the Virtual Drift Championship, round 2.
1 second, Tanner.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got a crash. 1 second, guys. We'll
Oh no.
Yeah, that's all right. It's all right. Everything's gonna be fine. We'll just bring up the screen. We're gonna stay with the live stream. We're not gonna go to commercial.
Hey.
We're gonna get right back on in there.
This is a first, ladies and
sorry
gentlemen, by the way.
If staff wants to send those drivers back to the pit there, so we're not icing them at the line. I hate to do that to our final battle. They were ready to go. They were at the line. It is
okay,
loading right on back up. We'll blame TSP Impure, you know. No,
Yeah.
we'll blame Assetto Corsa. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not their fault. It's not their fault. Here we go. We're back live and back into the server. We'll bring them right back onto the line. My apologies.
None needed. You do a fantastic job. If people only knew half of what you do here, they would be impressed. I know I am every time. So...
I don't know how it happens every time.
I can't believe this is the first time, as I wait for these drivers to come, that Craig has ever crashed.
I can't remember the last time we had a mid-event crash.
It happens to me a lot, but that's because
not good.
my computer is ancient. Today's standards.
Someone sponsor Tanner a new computer.
So here we go. The final battle. It all came down to this. Round 2 of the Virtual Drift Championship here at Runa Park, in partnership with Sim Magic, Grip Royal, Geronimo Designs, Horthan Mods, and Yoka Design, with our live bracket by AliYusuf.com. It is now time. Tikon Pleski in the lead lane, with Zach O'Sullivan ready to chase him down. Both prior VDC champions, and maybe one of them gets the win today. The lights go on and off they go for the first half of this battle. Initiating in with Tikon Pleski, looking good into outer zone 1. Zach quickly onto the door to Tikon Pleski, but backs out of it and now gets back into the pocket. Down towards outer zone 2. Tikon keeping it right on that yellow line, while Zach O'Sullivan stays on the door through outer zone 4, now down into 5. Zach keeping that proximity, transitioning right alongside him as they come down to that final outer zone. I thought that was contact, but it was just very close as they finish out the first half of this battle.
Yeah, good start to the final battle here for round number 2. Let's take another look. Tikon out front. Zach giving chase. Down the run up. Quick initiation, nice and smooth from Tikon into outside zone number 1, and could have been a little bit deeper along the wall. He works it out to the outside now. Zach O'Sullivan in the chase, giving up some room into outside zone number 2. He does reel him in towards the latter half of it as they continue on around the inside clip, now up into 6 and now down into 7. All the way out there to that track edge. Along the bumper is Zach in that chase position. A little tiny bobble from Tikon Pleski in that last and final outside zone. We go back to the start gate.
Now back under the start gate, which could be for the final time today. Zach O'Sullivan now in the lead. Tikon Pleski chasing him down, initiating in, looking into outer zone 1. Tikon Pleski so close to Zach O'Sullivan. They're wheel to wheel through outer zone 1. How they didn't hit that wall is impressive. Through outer zone 2, Tikon Pleski sticking right with Zach. They transition through outer zone 3, through that inside clip. Now down to outer zone 5 and 6. Tikon matching that angle beautifully as they come into the final outer zone, right on that yellow line. Tikon trying to keep the distance to the proximity, but wow, what a battle.
My goodness, let's take another look, maybe for the final time. The final replay. Lazco Sullivan out front. Tikon going for his side-by-side initiation. Makes it work. Zach much deeper on outside zone number 1 in the beginning portion. But Tikon maybe a little bit closer in tandem. Look at there into outside zone number 2 as well. Backs up for the transition. Right back onto the door of Zach. Zach filling that next outside zone. 6. Now 7 as well. Final transition. Nice and snappy. Right along that track edge. Tikon right in the pocket. There they go across that finish line. Do we have a winner for round number 2? Zach on the left, Tikon on the right. Which previous champion will get the win here for Ruapuna Park? Again, track will release later on today as well. Big shout out to Louis B for doing the convert from R Factor. Look at there, Tikon Pleski gets the win over Lazco Sullivan for round number 2 here at Ruapuna Park. What an event. We'll bring up our final look at the bracket. There we go, number 2 qualifier, Tikon Pleski taking home the win over Lazco Sullivan. He'll take home 2nd place, qualifying 4th, and then Alan Hines qualifying 3rd, finds himself in 3rd position for another podium on the board. Tanner's speechless.
I really am. What a day it has been. I mean, getting to see some classic battles between that Tikon and Alan battle down to this final battle. It has been a crazy day, and even in qualifying, and now they're at the line ready to do that 3-man tandem.
Yeah, it's so much fun. What a tradition this has turned into. Started way back, maybe 2018, 2019, we started doing this. Can they hold it together in outside zone number 2? They do, keeping it going, keeping it flowing through this course. It's tough enough to tandem. Now we've got 3s on the track. A green sandwich. Tikon picking up throttle. Look at that, nicely done by all 3 drivers. And all the drivers that, again, attended this afternoon and yesterday. Another quick look at it there. Once more. Tikon Pleski taking home the win. Lazco Sullivan taking home 2nd. And Alan Hines taking home 3rd. Oh, we greatly appreciate everyone showing up today and tuning in to the live stream, as well as tomorrow or yesterday. I'm going back to the future again, Tanner. I don't know what I'm doing. But again, yesterday was a blast as well with traditional qualifying, and then our last 16 qualifying battles. And then the drivers showed up once more here for the main event. Did a fantastic job. A tough course that we threw at them this time around. Only 24 hours to practice, where previous seasons were a week, even one time 2 weeks, but now they get it 24 hours before qualifying, and can use as much time as they want to. I mean, if somebody wants to stay up all night, then so be it. I'm sure there are a couple that maybe do so, but it's been very exciting this year. What do you think, Tanner?
I think it's a great change. You know, like I said, these drivers are at a level where we're trying to push them to be the best that they possibly can, and we throw curveballs at them all the time. We add walls, we change dates, we say, hey, we're going to a 2-day format. You know, you're only getting 24 hours of practice now, and it still blows my mind how you could come into one of these practice servers, you know, half an hour after the track releases, and it's like, oh, okay, they've been doing this for 3 weeks.
Literally, it's insane. And people, you know, have I guess argued about it for a long time now, that practice should be limited, this, then, the third, which, yeah, we totally agree. Which is why we made the change that we made today. But watching all of these drivers for all of these years just get a track and then throw down 90-point runs within the first, I don't know, 10 laps or so, it's just insane. Really tough courses that we throw at them sometimes, this being one of them. So don't get too frustrated when we do release this track later on today. A couple of things I want to check over before giving it out. I think a couple of lights I need to add to in case it goes on into the night, or somebody wants to, you know, drive it at night, they can do so. So again, we appreciate everyone for tuning in today. Big shout out to our sponsors as well: Sim Magic, Rip Roll, Joka Design, Horthan Mods, Geronimo Designs, and Ali Yusuf. Big shout out to our judges as well: Chris, Ed, and Carl. Horthan in the background this time as well, helping with the live streams, doing the names on the board, and he did it perfectly. And then you, as always, Tanner, coming and showing up each and every single round and commentating with me for years on years.
And many more years to come. I'm here for the long haul. I don't plan on going anywhere. I like it too much here. And, you know, if you guys are still sticking around to this point in the show, well, make sure you hit that wonderful subscribe button. Find us on all our socials. Follow us there so you always don't miss any of the action. Join our Discord. You can get all the downloads to the tracks, and you can find some awesome people in this community to maybe find out how you can secure your spot into the Virtual Drift Championship. And don't forget, next round, round 3, January 24th and 25th.
Absolutely. We'll see everybody then, and stay tuned on our socials as well for the track release. We'll throw it up on our public servers later on today as well. And maybe I'll hop on and get a couple of laps with all of you. And that'll do it for round number 2 here at Ruapuna Park. We'll see everybody in a couple of weeks.
Mastermind, never tried. Tell them all. Big dreams, I got big dreams, just like baby. I've been joining forces with the likes of an AG. Jumping off the buildings,